Ada for moving out without saying anything. I, 23F, currently live with my parents. I have been dating my BF, 24M, for almost a year now and we have known each other for many years. Recently him and I started talking about the future and when we would like to move in together. Originally we were talking about waiting another year so I can finish college. However, after my mom caught wind of him and I having these conversations, she lost her mind. She told me that I shouldn't even be thinking about a future with my boyfriend at this point in my life, that him and I needed to back off of our relationship. Then she went as far as telling me that I'm not allowed to see him more than once a week for a couple hours and that he will no longer be allowed over at the house anymore, and it's her house so I'll respect that. My mom is very controlling and manipulative and I have spent most of my life doing whatever SJE wanted to make my life easier. However, I am ready to move out and my mom would physically stop me if I tried to leave. But her and my dad are going to some convention this weekend and my BF and I plan on moving me out while they are gone. So am I the asshole for packing up my shit and leaving without saying anything? Comments. Commenter 1. Dad advice here: no, you're not the AH. When my parents started to tell me how I needed to live my life, I packed my shit and left too. And here is the flip side to this. I was fully independent from my parents and supported myself from day one. Be prepared to do the same. School funds being cut off, the possibility of having to drop out of school to work full-time to now support yourself. No more health insurance either. Like I tell my own kids, you're old enough to make your own decisions and you're old enough to live with the consequences. Be prepared. Reply, I am already working full-time, I pay for my own car and have my own health insurance. I don't have to pay anything for my college due to the GI Bill. And I have my own health insurance. Commenter 2. Then there you go, sounds like you have your shit together and just need to deal with the fallout of moving out. Good luck, sounds like your mom is going to freak out. Reply, she definitely will, and I expect her to manipulate the rest of my family, but it's on them if they believe her because they know what she is like. Commenter 3. Hang in there, don't take shit off others. Update. So my boyfriend and I have officially decided to go through with getting me out of my parents' house. I have had my job saving boxes for me for the week and I've been storing them at his house. My parents leave town tomorrow morning and tomorrow night after work and my sister goes to bed. My BF and I will start packing everything up. None of my family has any clue that my BF and I signed and paid for the lease on a really nice apartment about 20 minutes away from my parents. Both mine and my BF therapist are telling both of us it's in my best interest to leave if I want to be able to grow as a person. My friends say that my mom is controlling and I'm 23 and need to get on with my life. Truthfully, while I agree with all of this, I feel guilty. I don't plan on cutting off all contact and everything is signed and paid for, so there's no going back now. Am I irrational for feeling guilty about all of this? Or am I a juror for leaving without saying anything? Comments. Commenter 1. You're doing the right thing, but what if your sister wakes up and hears you? Will she call your parents? You should do this anyway. They have no legal hold on you, but think through how you'll handle it if this happens. If this didn't come up already, are you on their phone plan? Do they pay for your school? Are there other expenses such as health insurance they might cut off? If you have bank accounts that they have access to, likely from before you were adult age, they may still be able to access them if you didn't change accounts. They might take the money so plan and get you money transferred to a separate account. Car payments or car title in their name. Car insurance. Reply, my sister is a very heavy sleeper. I'm going to pack boxes in my room and my boyfriend is going to take them to our apartment in his truck while I stay behind. I am on their phone plan, but my BF and I have decided that if they take me off, he'll add me to his plan. My BF and I are on a car insurance policy together and I have my own vehicle and my own health insurance. I have already filled out the paperwork for my bank accounts to be changed. I don't have to pay for college because my dad is a vet, so it's all paid for by the VA. Update. My BF and I have officially moved in together. My mom is extremely angry. She called me and yelled at me for 30 minutes and told me that I was alone and that I had no one to turn to. She told me that everything is always about me and that she would be calling my therapist because, clearly I must have lied if my therapist was telling me to leave. Her and my dad ate repossessing my truck even though I am paying for it because it's in my dad's name. They say me having it is a liability for them. My mom called me yesterday telling me she was worried that I may be living with a sociopath. She said she spoke to my therapist and she told her that she didn't tell me to leave. My mom then called me and asked me if her and my dad could come pick me up and talk to me. They claimed that my BF has manipulated me into cutting off my family when he has actually done the exact opposite. Through this process my BF has actually been encouraging me to reach out and even said that my family was welcome to come over. He even said that if they wanted him to leave the house when they come see me then he will do so because he doesn't want to keep me from my parents. My mom has reached out to other family members and spoke to them. I am not aware of what she said to them but they sent me a message telling me they didn't wish to get involved. My mom has made not one but 2 Facebook posts telling everyone how I have abandoned my sister 27F, and left her to die. She has gone as far as telling everyone my BF is abusing me, which is a lie. She even said in her most recent post that she was going no contact and asked everyone else to do the same because if they didn't they would be supporting an abuser. FYI, this is not me whining and crying about my choices. I am fully aware that these are the consequences of my actions and my choices and I made my bed and have to lie in it. I'm not asking for pity. The Reddit users asked for an update so I am providing one. Comments. Commenter 1. You are an adult so I don't believe your therapist talked to your mother. She is lying and if your therapist did talk to your mother then that is an ethics violation and you could get her in serious trouble because they are supposed to have DR patient confidentiality. Your mom is pulling lies out of her ass to try and continue controlling you. Right now the best thing for you to do is sit your mother down and tell her that you are a grown woman and you will be making your own choices and she needs to get on board with it or she can get out of your life and go either LC or NC until she can learn to respect your wishes. Good luck OP. Reply, she has already chosen to go no contact with me because I chose to stay with my BF. Commenter 2. Then that is on her and sounds like your life will be much better in the long run. Stories number 2. Aita for refusing to wake up my husband when my parents visited and kicking them out when they insisted. Sorry for the throwaway account, I have colleagues that follow my main and I like to keep my personal life as private as I can. With that said I will keep details as low as possible as well. Husband and I have been married for 5 years now and we are both 29 years old. The last 3 weeks due to a complete screw-up in a department in a company my husband works for it has been all hand on deck for my husband and his team to resolve the issues. My husband has been working 18-hour a day and even some days not even coming home working throughout the entire night and into the next day. I don't know much about the issues exactly but what I do know is that if they do not resolve the issues it will be a $50 million loss for the company. The issues are not the result of my husband or anyone in his team but they are the ones that has to fix the issues. I can see the exhaustion in my husband's face when he comes in as 2 to 3 in the morning when I'm awake and leaves at 7 again. I don't know how he is doing it, and just keeps going but I try my best to keep as much as possible of his plate at home until he could get the issues resolved. Before this he has been nothing but supportive and helpful around the house. When he comes home he eats, showers and goes straight to bed. I have found him some nights literally sleeping at the table while he was busy eating when I went down to check on him because he wasn't in bed yet and I got woken up or him passed out on the foot of the bed with the shower running and him still in his work clothes. 2 nights back he got home at around midnight which is late but was too early from when he normally get back and I thought something bad happened because he looked like a ghost but through his exhaustion he gave me this massive smile and said, "They did it and everything is done." He told me the boss gave them each a couple days off and he only needs to be back in the office next week Tuesday. He ate dinner, took a shower and got into bed. I got up the next morning around 9 and made breakfast. I thought about waking up my husband but didn't and let him sleep. Around 12 my parents visited me. I normally work from home and they do visit from time to time seeing as I'm 6 months pregnant as well. I greeted them and we sat down and had coffee. Around 30 minutes into their visit they asked where my husband was because they saw his truck in the driveway. I told them he was still sleeping. My mother gave me a look and said it's unacceptable for my husband to still be sleeping past 12 o'clock especially with a pregnant wife and I should wake him up. I told them no and to leave it and then explained the full situations of what happened the last 3 weeks to them. They didn't budge and insisted I wake my husband up. Apparently it's not right for him to sleep in with a pregnant wife. It went as far as my mother standing up and saying if I wouldn't do it then she will go and wake him up. I stood up and blocked my mother from going up the stairs and told my parents if they find it so wrong for my husband to get proper sleep after 3 weeks of barely any sleep they should leave our house because I will not and I refuse to let them wake him up as well. I told them, I will let my husband sleep until he wakes up himself, I will not disturb him and I will not allow anyone else to disturb him. They asked if I am kicking them out and I said yes, if they can't respect my request to leave my husband alone and let him sleep they are no longer welcome. Their whole visit lasted around an hour. Around 3 p.m. I got bombarded with text from their family members berating me for kicking my parents out of our house, even my sister and brother berating me for doing it. Telling me I'm the hole for kicking them out for just trying to help. Even Avtech explained the situation. Some family members are still on my parents' side saying I overreacted by kicking them out, because they were only looking out for my safety seeing as I'm pregnant. Edit. Unfortunately, I have a family is somewhat close and loves to talk. Secrets don't stay secret in this family for long, especially with my aunts and cousins that can't keep anything to themselves. As soon as they know something, everyone else has to know it as well. Bit of extra information I see kept getting asked. This is my first child. She will also be the first grandchild and the first child born in the family the last 20 years. Stories number 3. Aita 4, forcing my husband to take in his estranged daughter despite his wishes. So, my husband and I are currently cooling down from a fight. And he called me a few things, including asshole. Everything is a bit of a mess right now, so emotions are running high, but I really need a sanctity check and maybe some fresh arguments because I feel like we are going in circles. Long story long, my husband had a daughter when he was in his early 20s with his ex-girlfriend. They were not good for each other, a lot of fighting and just emotional abuse. So they split just before the child was born. He has been very open about this in our relationship and how he regrets not taking more care to not get her pregnant because they were young and immature and stupid. He never really got to build a relationship with his daughter. Her mother would just keep the kid from him and made it clear that she did not want him in their life. He has paid child support the whole way through, but it has been uphill for our entire relationship. When we met, my husband had matured greatly and was eventually ready to start a family. So I have seen a bit from the sideline. When our first child was born, his ex went for more child support because, if he can afford a new kid, he can afford to pay up. She is always being super nasty in any conversation they might have. And she taught their daughter the same thing. He has tried to at least get a phone call for Christmas, and last year his daughter said some really awful things on that call. Calling him deadbeat and other awful things, telling him she hates him and never wants to get to know him. She is 13 now, so I know that her mother is still influencing her a lot, but she is also reaching an age where he can't just say that she doesn't know what she is saying or how hurtful it is. So my husband has basically given up trying. None of them want him to try, so he resigned to that. A few days ago, he got a call. The core of it is that his daughter told a teacher that she was being SA'd at home. CPS showed up and her mother split, disappearing. They want her to come live with us. My husband wants to decline. He has no relationship with this child, she seems to hate his gut, we have younger children and honestly, no experience dealing with a trauma like that. He believes she would be better off with a foster family who knows what they are dealing with. I told him that there is no way this kid got abused, abandoned, and then getting rejected from the only family she has. We are taking her in and we will figure out the rest. That poor kid needs some stability, not getting tossed around in the system. Currently we are not in agreement and I know that he has the last word since I'm just his partner and not related to this girl. Am I being unreasonable in thinking this is a huge red flag and that he needs to step up to be a father for her too? Edit. Okay, this has been a bit overwhelming to come back to, but I'll try to clear up a few things. I'm aware I have no legal say in the matter, but my husband and I are a team and a family, so my opinion matters to him. Neither of us have experience with the foster system, so we are really just going off what we think we know. I want to thank everyone who has been able to elaborate a bit more on this. Yes, my husband was a deadbeat dad in the beginning. Later on he's been able to see that they were a really bad match, but that he should probably have tried harder. Once visits became an option he tried, but she would forget and not be home or say it wasn't the date they agreed on and stuff like that. Maybe he could have gone through court, but he just gave up really. Hindsight is 20/20, but it doesn't change the fact of the now. Unfortunately. Mini update. We sat down to have a talk about why the discussion had gone off the rails. Not touching the subject yet, but just why we ended up in a screaming match. He told me that he was completely overwhelmed by this and was in a panic. According to him, the CPS person had made it sound like he could take her in or she would go into a system that spits out drug-addicted prostitutes, as one comment colorfully put it. He feels really guilty for letting this happen to his kid. Even if she hates his guts, he feels like he should have done something to prevent this. I guess I was too focused on how bad his daughter might be off right now to truly see that he was hurting just as bad right now. We've agreed to talk about it again in the morning in a more calm setting and try to get some more facts about what can be done. It's like 2 a.m. and I'm exhausted, but we have both called off work tomorrow so we can take the time we need. I hope there is a positive update in the near future. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. What you are trying to do is admirable, but will likely blow up your family. You cannot even imagine the damage that has been done to this child. The stress will be so hard on your entire family, and your children don't deserve that any more than the daughter deserved what was done to her. There's another option. Foster care placement with frequent visits. She can start therapy and have time to get to know you and your family. Your family can start therapy and learn ways to handle her and help her. It may work out or it may not, but you'll have tried while balancing your children and giving your husband time to adjust. You're not abandoning her this way. Commenter 2, White Yay. This is a major life change and you do not get to issue a unilateral decision without having an actual discussion where you both listen to each other's points. Update 1. Things are pretty hectic right now, but a lot of people were kind enough to take time out of their day to offer advice and their own experiences, and I want to say thank you for that. I'm not going into details, there is a lot more going than I'm sharing here, so I can assure you that divorce is nowhere near on the table for us. We have had several tough talks in the last few days, but once we got past the worst panic, we were a lot more on the same page than we thought. My husband have agreed to take responsibility for his daughter and is looking into an emergency custody of her. We are not trying to play family as some suggested, he is going to take legal charge of her and keep her out of the system. She will not be living with us right now. We have contacted an inpatient therapy clinic that can take her in to start the healing process. My husband is taking leave from work and leasing a second car so he can be there as much as needed possible. He knows she might never consider him her father or even family, but from now on, we will be her support system. She won't have to depend on a poor overworked CPS contact, random legal guardians, homes changing, etc. If she needs therapy, we will get it for her. If she needs legal counsel, we will get it for her. If she needs the system, we will help her navigate it. If she wants to live with a foster family, we will support that. We will make it clear that our support is not conditioned on her playing family with us. She never has to set foot in our home if she chooses not to. We know that she might never appreciate any of it, but that is okay too. We have some savings we can take from and we are setting up a college fund for her as well. It will not make her rich, but we hope to be able to cover at least some of it when the time comes. We're starting family therapy as well to start talking to our kids about the fact that they have a sister and that dad will be gone a lot more for a while. My husband will be starting therapy as well to work on his guilt and hurt from this whole situation. Relevant comments. OOP on her husband's emotional distress. Reply. People can feel emotional distress that can cause them to lash out for a while before they are able to calm down and think more rationally about their situation. Commenter. Your approach demonstrates a deep commitment to doing what's best for your husband's daughter and your family. The focus on support, therapy, and respect for her autonomy are all vital components of navigating this challenging situation. Reply. I'll admit, the comments on the first thread were hard to read, but it did make me see that I was too naive. I have no doubt it is going to be hard, but right now we have a plan, some sort of direction for this. Most of it is theoretical at this point, but I hope we can make it work. Commenter 2. Sounds like your husband is stepping up and being a responsible father, despite the difficult circumstances. Kudos to him for taking on this challenge, and I hope it all works out for the best. Good luck to your family. New updates. I am not going to go into details, but kind people have reached out and offered help and advice, and I want to thank you all for that. We did not ship my stepdaughter off to a mental asylum indefinitely. She was with professionals that could make an in-depth assessment of her health and outline a plan for us while starting the process. My husband was there as much as his daughter and her doctor wanted him to be. Her mom showed up. There is a criminal investigation going on and my stepdaughter has, with the help of her therapist, testified. We are so proud of her and hope this can be a stepping stone for her to move forward. She lives with us now and we are working closely with professionals about how to make it work. It's not perfect, it's not easy, it's not fun. But it is not something we would change. And I can't believe I have to say this, but yes, we asked her what she wanted all the way through this. We have not forced her to do anything. It's been almost 1 year, my stepdaughter lives with us now. Last September I turned to Reddit after having an argument with my husband. We found ourselves in a difficult situation after it came to light that his daughter from a previous relationship had been SA'd and her mom disappeared. A lot of people weighed in and reached out and we got some very different perspectives on the whole thing. This is mostly a good update, but there are obviously a lot of bad stuff popping up along the way. I can't believe I have to spell this out, but we have spoken with my stepdaughter, we'll call her, and about every step of the way, what she wanted, how we could make it work. And yes, we have spent a lot of money on this. Thankfully we were in a decent place financially and my ILs have been helping out as well. I guess bad news first. Mom and her BF showed up eventually and there is a trial in the works. I can't say too much, but I honestly think my husband was ready to go to jail for murder at several points. And testified, on video thankfully, so she did not have to sit through it in front of these people. My husband is there, with her permission. Anne's therapist had alerted us and the police that he suspected that she has been drugged on some occasions, based on the things they talked about. My husband came home from that meeting and started researching how to get a gun, no, we did not get a gun with toddlers in the house. Unfortunately, there is no real chance of mom and BF going to jail nearly as long as they deserve, which is forever IMO, but they will most likely get some jail time at least. Therapy is going well all in all. N's therapist have facilitated some sessions between N and my husband which have been tough for both of them. A lot of things said. As the title says, N lives with us and has since she felt ready to after being in inpatient care for a few weeks. We cleared out the office and we got the biggest lock we could find for her door. It's symbolic mostly, but she can lock that door as much as she wants, on her terms. We only ask that she keeps it fairly clean and no smoking drugs. She is welcome at all meals but not forced, and I always make enough that she can have it later if she wants. We did not see much of her in the first months, which was pretty expected from what we were told by our family therapist. One of us is always home, unless we go out all five, and available. My husband got more WFH days so we can make it work. We don't force her to interact with her step-siblings, but she is mostly neutral towards them. We have implemented a no touching others without asking permission rule, and sometimes the kids slip up and forget in the heat of the moment, but she has taken it super cool so far. A few weeks back, our boy ran over to the TV while she was watching something and demanded I put on his favorite show. He's only seen it like 10,000 times. I told him no, and is using the TV and he has to wait his turn. Without any prompting, and told him it was okay, switched over and watched an episode with him. He was ecstatic and demanded another episode, which they watched before I pried him off the couch so she could watch her thing. I thanked her and assured her that she was free to say no in the future, and she said she didn't mind really. So, yeah. She's not skipping school more than other teenagers. I know she has some Snapchat streak with some of the girls in her class that they do every day. Saving up for a new iPhone, stuff like that. Again, I'm not including all the details of our lives obviously. There are bad days and fights and yelling too, but I am cautiously optimistic that N is going to turn out alright in the end. She is still not calling my husband Dad, and probably never will, but that's fine. We just want her to be able to live her life the best she can. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, it's not easy for anyone this situation, but it sounds like you're doing the right thing most days, and that's good as it's better than most do. Hang in there and try and allow yourself and your husband time to recharge the emotional battery. Everyone needs it and it isn't selfish. Reply, I'll admit, I do miss our life from before we suddenly had a teenager and a criminal case on our hands. Just being in that system, even secondarily, is hell, but I do think she's a good kid at heart. Still tests us at times, especially when she's in contact with her mom. They are not meeting obviously, but they have some phone time. Again, we are following the advice of professionals. My husband was not on board at first. And I get it, I really do. I wish that woman would sink into the earth and live out the rest of eternity in hell. OOP defends her husband on not being there for his daughter in her life at the beginning. Reply, you may find this hard to believe, but my husband is a very loving and caring dad. He got stuck in a bad situation as a young man and didn't have the resources to resolve it in a good way. He is working so hard to do better for her. He has sat through so many fights where she has hurled insults at him and all he can do is apologize. He's had to hear these awful details about how his child was abused and blames himself for everything that has happened to her. He has cried more times in the last year than in all the time we have known each other because he can't make that pain go away for her, even if he would take it upon himself in a heartbeat. He can't undo the past, but I'm honestly a little ticked off by all the people painting him like a monster. OOP on monitoring N's phone calls to her mother. Reply, we are in the room and she is on speaker for all calls, and we always make sure and can talk to her therapist either online or in person within a few days of each call. We've made it clear that she decides if she wants to talk to her, but cutting her off has to be her own choice, with the guidance from us and professionals. Commenter 2, thank you for providing her with the safety and stability she needs to process what happened and take the necessary steps towards healing. I'm also glad to hear that there will be some kind of justice for her, and that they allowed her to testify via video. Her bravery and strength is truly commendable. Reply, we have really done our best to stress how brave she is being by speaking up and out against them. Once her part was wrapped up, my husband came home with 6 different kinds of ice cream and threw us an ice cream for dinner party. It was super silly but very sweet, and I think she got a little of that "oh my gosh dad, you are so embarrassing" teenage feeling for the first time. We ended up only eating maybe 1 box in total. I think the last bit is still sitting in the freezer. OOP clarifies on if her husband was married previously or not, his visits with and earlier in her life. Reply, they never got married, just had a kid. He has never visited much. In the beginning, like first 3 months of daughter's life, they were on off, fighting and just super unstable as a family. After he moved out got kicked out he didn't see her much because mom insisted that their daughter was too young to be with him more than 10 minutes at the time. If his parents, and's grandparents, were there, it usually went a little better, so in the end it often depended on them being able to be there as well. Once she got a little older he tried to push for seeing her and he did threaten to take her to court a few times but she would make excuses, say they could work it out like friends, make promises. He had dropped out of college to work to provide for them and had to go back to try to get his degree, so he was not in a position where he could spend thousands and thousands on legal assistance, and they both knew it. We were friends for some years before dating and his ex would do this weird love bombing by proxy, saying that their daughter wanted to see him, missed him, asked about him and they would set a date and then something came up last minute where she forgot a doctor's appointment or something like that. Then it would be impossible for him to get a hold of her or get a straight answer for months and then it started over. And as she got older, when he did get to see her, birthdays and holidays, she would say things like she wanted to go home, she missed her mother, throw tantrums until he gave in and brought her back. We offered to take her to Disneyland when she turned 10, we figured it was a dream trip for a little girl and we could try to get to know her a little, and she refused to go unless her mom was invited, and paid for, too. And when she started saying things like she hates him and she doesn't want to see him, well, he gave up trying to force the issue. Stories number 4. Do I, 20M, dump girlfriend, 19F, over crying after a night out? I met girlfriend on Tinder about 3 months ago. We clicked instantly on Tinder. I could buy her pics that she was my type and we had a lot in common, same shows, both like soccer, same music preference, and had fun messaging until she asked me how tall I was. She was pretty upfront about preferring dudes who are 6 feet 0 inches or taller. I told her I was 5 feet 8 inches and asked if it was done for me after that. She said she liked talking to me and that I was cute enough for her to look past my height. We went on a few dates in real life and clicked even better than we did online. We decided to become exclusive after a few weeks of seeing each other. A week ago we went out to eat with her friends and their boyfriends. I'd met some of her friends before but this was the first time I met their boyfriends too. The dinner went fine and all the guys were pretty cool. The only thing I did notice was that they were tall AF and I was by far the shortest. I didn't really care but I did notice it. WTV. Anyway, after the dinner, me and my girlfriend walked back to her apartment and she was quieter than usual and a bit short with me. I asked what was wrong. I thought maybe I said SMTH dumb during the dinner but she said she wasn't mad over anything I did. After we entered her apartment, she did open up. She said that me being so much shorter than her friends' boyfriends made her feel some sort of way. I asked her WTF did she mean by that and she said she couldn't explain it. I asked her if she was embarrassed over me being short and she said no but it was just she's used to dating tall dudes and started crying. I mentioned her telling me that she's gotten over her height preference and she said she knows and that she felt bad about still feeling this way. She just kept saying sorry and crying, so I got mad a little and said I was leaving. She asked me to stay and I said SMTH I regret. I told her to go fuck herself and left her apartment. She's been calling and texting me since our fight. We talked on the phone once but I haven't responded to any of her texts. She's apologized daily and said she's sorry for hurting my feelings. She claims that she hasn't ever liked a guy as much as me but if I'm being dramatic but I just feel low-key kinda worthless and I'm considering ending things but because I haven't liked a girl as much as I liked her but if I should be with someone this obsessed with height. Like who cries over their BF being shorter than their friends' boyfriends. I'm closer to breaking up but she's been apologizing so much I think maybe I should give her a second chance. Comments. Commenter 1. Mean and shallow people do. Reply. She's very sweet in general. Commenter 2. You sure about that? She cried because you are shorter than her friends' boyfriends. Like really think about that. Reply. I mean other than that. Commenter 3. Other than the shooting, how was the theater Mrs. Lincoln? Commenter 4. At 19, your GF is caught halfway between craving the shallow physical ideals and status symbols that she sought out in her high school relationships, and learning how to observe and appreciate someone's inner qualities, shared interests, a sense of humor, good moral character, that she will prioritize more in her adult romantic partnerships. She is still a work in progress, and early adulthood is often a time of great change for everyone. She would never have agreed to date you exclusively if she was still seriously stuck in high school mode. She wasn't lying when she told you that she's never dated anyone she liked this much before. But she hasn't completely cleared that superficial way of thinking out of her system yet, and seeing her good friends all with taller guys made her feel insecure, like somehow they were judging her negatively for dating someone shorter. If she's apologized sincerely, I think you should consider giving her a second chance. But first tell her how badly it hurt your feelings, because you really like her too and you thought she was more mature than that. I hope you'll be able to talk this out, and get back to a good place with her. Good luck. Reply, low-key I wanna but I feel too insecure to talk her right now. How do I talk to her face to face? Commenter 5. I must know, is your girlfriend short? I'm a 5 feet 11 inches woman and I am consistently shocked by how many short women have super strict height preferences. Reply, she's 5 feet 5 inches 5 feet 6 inches so kinda average IG. Update. Edit. I tried posting an update twice but it got removed and I CBA to figure out why so I'm posting it here. If anyone really cares but thanks for all of the advice. I read literally every comment. I know most of the comments said to break up but some others gave a perspective that really resonated with me. I finally replied to my girlfriend's texts and we had a face-to-face meeting at my place. She was crying and even more apologetic in person than she was over texts. She told me that the day we went for dinner with her friends was a shitty day and she blamed her hormones for saying something hurtful to me which is how female biology works but it seemed like a flimsy excuse. She also mentioned feeling under pressure about her friends being judgy that I'm shorter than her usual type and all that resulted in her snapping. I asked her if she was sure she wanted to continue this relationship and she said yes. According to her, she has no issue with my height and wanted me to give her a second chance and I know a lot of y'all will be pissed but I agreed. I didn't want to break up when we get along so perfectly in every other way so I forgave her and we're still together. She promised to never bring up my height and I said if she repeats her antics from last week again then I'll break up with her to which she agreed. Boring update but Thanks. Comments. Commenter 1. I kinda like your update, I hope she is genuine. Reply, thanks. Stories number 5. My husband's, 28M, car got destroyed and now he's taking his frustrations out on me, 24F. We've been dating for 4 years, married for 11 months. Basically, a truck driver hit my husband's car and entirely destroyed it. It was a hit and run, so no one knows who the driver of the truck was which is ironic because almost all of our neighbors saw it happening but nobody bothered to write down the license plate number. The accident happened at around 7 a.m. Our whole neighborhood started talking about it and 3 hours later one of them finally decided to let us know what happened. Needless to say, it was a shitty way to start the day. My husband loves his cars, especially this one. We're currently trying to figure things out with our insurance, but it's not looking good. My husband is super frustrated and angry, understandably so. Unfortunately, he's taking all of this frustration and anger out on me. He's yelling at me non-stop and forcefully pushes me out of the way when I'm standing in his way. I tried to comfort him and gently touched his arm but he slapped my hand away. I've never seen him like that and honestly, it's scaring me. I'm one of those people that immediately get emotional when someone raises their voice at them. Is there anything that I can do? How can I calm him down? TLDR, my husband's car got destroyed in a hit and run and now he's taking his frustrations out on me. Top comments. Commenter 1. Leave and let him work out this tantrum on his own. Come back only when he agrees to treat you with respect. He hit you. He pushed you. That is physical abuse. It is not okay. You do not have to stay and be his emotional punching bag until he feels like stopping. In a few days when he has calmed down, tell him in no uncertain terms that you will not tolerate that kind of treatment and if it happens again, even once, you're gone. Personally, I wouldn't agree to return until he agrees to go to therapy. Commenter 2. He's yelling at me non-stop and forcefully pushes me out of the way when I'm standing in his way. I tried to comfort him and gently touched his arm but he slapped my hand away. It's time to pack a bag and go visit someone for a bit. If he is angry, you are not his emotional or physical punching bag. This is not normal, and you should not have to deal, endure, or cope with it. It's a car, it can be replaced. He is placing the value of his car over you. That is not okay. Big red flag. Commenter 3. Leave him be for now. When things are calmed down you bring up his unacceptable behavior to him. Insist and don't back down, this is therapy-worthy behavior. He needs to learn to deal with his emotions like an adult, because right now you are living with a teenager lashing out. Let me guess. He is a stoic guy who carries his emotions on the inside and never discusses or allows himself to express emotions, making sure they are sealed away. And when he finally gets emotional, the floodgates open and all hell is loose. Typical manly behavior. I am saying this as a man in my 30s who had to learn the same, be in healthy contact with my emotions. Reply. Thanks for the advice. Yes, you're actually spot on. Update. Just wanted to let y'all know that my dear husband will soon be my ex-husband. Most people suggested to leave for a short while to let my husband deal with his emotions on his own and to avoid me being his punching bag. I spent a full week at my mom's house, and when I came back he was still mad about his car. It got to the point where he was transferring all of his anger onto me, so now there were two angry people instead of one. We kept getting into fights and discussions, but I decided that this marriage wasn't worth saving anymore when he pushed me out of his way. I wasn't purposefully standing in his way. I was preparing a meal in the kitchen, so hard that I lost my footing and hit my head against the corner of our kitchen table. I must have lost consciousness for a short amount of time because suddenly my husband was next to me and was apologizing. I'm going to be honest. It is breaking my heart to leave this man, but I'm genuinely scared for my safety when I'm around him. There's plenty of fish in the sea, I guess. TLDR, I'm getting a divorce. Final comments. Commenter 1. Did you contact the police? This assault should be reported. I hope you are okay. I'm glad you have your parents nearby for support. Reply. I did not, but it might really be a good idea to contact them. Commenter 2. Please do op. You really do need to file a report and document that. Hopefully you'll never need it, but if you do, you'll have it on record. Commenter 3. I'm glad you're getting out. Has he really never shown you this side of him before? Reply. Now that I'm looking back at it, he has always been a person with a lot of anger inside of him. Peace was never an option, but violence was. However, that violence has never been directed at me until the incident with his car happened. To be honest, I guess I never really wanted to see and accept that side of him, so I just ignored it because I was so in love with him. Commenter 4. I'm so sorry. A head injury where you blacked out is no joke. I hope you got checked out by a doctor. Your husband literally could have killed you. Commenter 5. He almost $1 million babied her. Stories number 6. Aita for asking my mom why I should go see her stepkids when she ignored me for them so many times while I lived with her. My parents got divorced when I, 19M, was 4. They split custody of me and I had a good relationship with both until I was 11. That's when my mom started dating her husband and when she became one-track minded when his kids were around. They were years younger than me and he was their sole parent, so mom used that as an excuse. But it was hurtful and my mom promised she'd do better, but she didn't. There are a few incidents that come to mind where this was super clear. Mom's stepkids wanted new toys, so mom took them shopping and told me to tag along. I asked her while we were on the way if I could drop by a gaming store and she didn't answer. I asked her when we got to the mall and she ignored me again. She didn't talk to me at all while we were at the mall, and when I told her I was going to the gaming store and I'd be back, one of the stepkids started screaming that they wanted me to stay, so mom stopped me going. When we got back to her house she told me we went for her stepkids, not for me, and I spoiled it by upsetting them. Another time we went through a drive-thru and it was busted, so mom left us in the car and went inside for food. She didn't get what I actually asked for and shrugged it off when I told her she got me the wrong order. When I was grumpy about it that night she told me she hadn't time to go back and the kids needed to get home and I was making a big deal out of nothing. I told her she went back in because one of her stepkids got the wrong drink and she told me it was different because he was little. She was supposed to meet me at the climbing gym for us time. She was late, so I called and texted. No answer. I waited for an hour 40 before I called dad and asked him to drop me off at mom's place. She wasn't home, but neither were the kids. 2 hours after I got back she came home with the kids and she said nothing while the kids were up, so I yelled at her. Then when she got the kids in bed she yelled at me for yelling at her and she took away my phone for not being more understanding and yelling and for saying fuck her stepkids. Last one for this post because I don't want to keep you here all day. But her and her husband took us out for a family day. She spent that whole day doing stuff with her stepkids and shrugged off my hand when I tried to get her to listen to me because I was asking her to do something with me. I walked back to the car when I realized that was going to be the rest of the day. Nobody came to get me. But that night she told me her stepkids got upset because they wanted to do some things with me and I was gone. I told her she ignored me and she said she had younger kids to pay attention to. I told her all she cared about was them and she told me I didn't care about them at all. And I asked her why would I? She said I acted like I needed her attention 24/7 when I was plenty old enough to not get jealous. This kind of stuff happened a lot. And like I said, mom told me she'd fix it, but she never did. I hated her for it and I resented her stepkids. And she pretty much helped me decide I would never want to be part of one as an adult. I don't want stepkids or to give my future kids a stepmom if I find myself in that position. She called a few times and asked me to visit her stepkids. But ended the call when I said no. Then she called me again about a week ago and told me her stepkids missed their big brother and when am I visiting. I said never and she told me I need to because I'm their brother and they love me. I asked her why I should see them when she ignored me for them so many times when I lived there. She said it wasn't their fault and I told her I didn't give a crap about her stepkids. She called more times and I didn't answer and she'd text and I'd ask her the same question every time. She told me I'm not making her want to spend time with me and I told her she wasn't making me want to spend time with her stepkids. I get my responses might be petty and it's not the kids' fault but I don't want a relationship with them. Stories number 7. Wibda for telling my mother that I won't look after her other child for the rest of my life. So I, 21F, have one sister, 23F, for the sake of the story we'll call Amy, whom I love dearly but despite being older, has a lot less life experience than I do. She's never had a job, I've been working since I was 15, she stays inside playing video games all day, I make an effort to be social, she still lives with our parents, I moved out as soon as I could. Amy's always been mother's favorite, our mother's has narcissistic tendencies and while Amy cradles her, I have a habit of sticking up for myself which obviously mother dearest didn't like. They've always spoiled her, like how she got a PS5 the same year I went without a school laptop because they couldn't afford both. I hate that in some ways it sort of made me resent my sister even though it's not her fault, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Anyway, our grandmother passed away recently and my mother decided that I was to move in her house and pay the rates and the bills while they sell theirs and go live the van lifestyle for a while. This story would be 10x longer if I got into all that so I won't, and that my sister would come live with me when they're ready to go. The issue isn't her living there, I do love Amy and we've gotten along as adults. The issue is they're building her a 10 grand art studio in the yard, let her pick the room in the house she wanted, along with everything else of our grandmother's, it didn't matter how much it meant to me if she wanted it, she got it and all because, they want her to be happy. Except I'm paying the bills, and the rates, and getting nothing but what she lets me have. There's also the fact that I don't want to live in this town forever, or take care of my sister forever. I need to be able to have my own life but our parents expect me to just take care of their kid because they don't want to anymore. And she can't take care of ourselves because she's never bothered to get a job or go to university. I understand that my parents want their own lives too but they're the ones who chose to have kids not me. In my eyes if you choose to be a parent it's a lifelong commitment even if the kids are adults sometimes things happen and you have to be prepared to look after them. Or at the very least they should be telling Amy she has to look after herself. I brought up the finance issues and they just said they'd put a trust in Amy's name to help with the house, which is fine I guess but they're still just spoiling her and not urging her to do something with her life. Amy makes a little money through art commissions but not enough to live and has some mental health issues that affect things, but I do too and I'm still trying to figure life out. I just don't know what to do. So Reddit, would I be the asshole for telling my mother I won't take care of my sister forever? Stories number 8. Aita for being mad at my husband after he let our daughter shave her head. We have a certain tradition in my family. During the summer, all children in age 10 have their hair dyed, currently with a special dye that wears off after a few days. We dress in colorful clothes, decorate my grandparents' house, and celebrate for 3 days and 3 nights. There's cake, presents, various contests, and so on. It is a family tradition, not a matter of culture or country, and it comes from the time when one of my great-great-grandmother lost many children before they turned 10. Well, my daughter turns 10 this year, she is one of 3 children in this age. The celebration was scheduled for August 1st. Everything was going well, she was very happy. And then I went on a business trip. When I came back, my daughter had a shaved head. Honestly, I was shocked because during this time I did not receive any information or even a photo. I asked my husband what happened. He said that he and our daughter were watching some cartoon together and one of the characters had shaved her hair, so our daughter decided she wanted to shave hers too. And he agreed. That caused a lot of drama. We had a bit of an argument, and honestly, at the time, I was more concerned that he'd allowed her shave her head on such a small impulse. But the next day, my mother came in and a conversation about tradition began. You know, how to dye hair that doesn't exist. My mother suggested a wig or just painting my daughter's head, but my daughter burst into tears because she realized she would be the only one 10-year-old whose hair wouldn't be dyed. She also refuses to go to the celebration now because it won't be the same. And now she's mad and my husband is furious with me, thinking the whole tradition is stupid and that it's the tradition's fault that our daughter is upset. I, on the other hand, think he was irresponsible and he should have thought about what he was doing before he started shaving her head. Yes, my husband knows about the tradition. He's been there twice. Edit, yes, my daughter is completely bald now. As for, what if one of the kids doesn't want to dye their hair, the answer is that my brother was that kid. So on the day of the celebration, he wore a rainbow wig, and no one had a problem with it. The thing is, as I've already pointed out, my daughter doesn't want wigs or head paint, she wants dyed hair. Edit 2, I've noticed that many people in the comments have a strange view of this tradition, so I want to clarify something. No, we're not talking about dead children, nor is there a cemetery-like atmosphere. Although it began with many deaths, it is a celebration of life and joy. Something like a huge birthday. That's why everyone dresses colorfully, that's why we paint ourselves and decorate our houses, and that's why children get presents. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, was daughter excited to show you her bald head when she got home? It could be she wanted to, or it could be dad pressured her, or that something happened to the hair like gum candy caught on fire while you were gone and your husband is covering up. Maybe talk to the salon that cut it. How your daughter acted initially is super important outside of the tradition. For the tradition, use face paint and get your daughter excited about what design will go on her head. Reply, my husband shaved her hair at home. When I got home, it was early morning, and my daughter had just woken up. I remember her coming to me, hugging me, and saying, "Hi, Mom." It took me a moment to process what had happened. She didn't try to hide it, but there was no, Mom, look what happened." Then she went to the bathroom, and I started talking to my husband, as I wrote in the post. OOP on her fight with her husband about their daughter's hair. Reply, I fought with my husband because he didn't even tell me about it. No, it's not fun or cool when you come home after a week and hear, "Oh yeah, our 10-year-old daughter watched a cartoon and decided she didn't want to have hair, so we got rid of it at home." My mother and I were discussing ways my daughter could participate in the tradition. I don't know, maybe you missed it, but literally one example was head painting. A colorful wig was the other. Plus, it's funny to make it, girls can't have autonomy, when all 10-year-olds participate in the tradition. This year there will be one boy, last time there were only boys. Commenter 2, info, did your husband realize it was her year for the dyed hair or did he forget? Reply, yes, he knew. Before my trip, we were literally shopping for outfits for the occasion. Update. So, a few things have happened since yesterday, and taking advantage of the fact that it's currently 11 a.m. in my country and I'm home alone, I'd like to share this with you. I guess I'll start by saying that many of you were right, even if you were wrong about the reasons. So 3 hours after I published my first post, my husband's sister came over to pick up my daughter. I decided to take the opportunity and ask her for help, figuring she was the perfect, neutral person. My husband wasn't happy and strongly opposed it, thinking it was unnecessary to still drag this out, but I asked his sister to talk to my daughter about what had happened anyway. She, my husband's sister, currently has a mohawk, so I asked her to simply start with the hairstyles and then get to how it all started. She agreed. They returned around 11 p.m. We waited until our daughter gone to bed, then we sat down in the kitchen and started talking. Well, my husband tried to end this conversation many times, but I finally learned this. The fact is that he and our daughter watched a cartoon where a character shaves her hair. The fact is that my daughter found it interesting. But that's where the "daddy started encouraging us to do it and saying it would be great" part comes in. My daughter told his sister how he convinced her that it would be more fun this way, and that this way she would be able to better play the character in their game. When my husband's sister left, we started arguing. I don't know if it's still obvious, but even as I write this, I'm still pissed. At first, my husband defended himself, trying to say that his sister was biased and that it was all lies, and that the idea was 100% our daughter's. But in the end, he told the truth. Yes, he convinced her to cut her hair. No, it wasn't just about stupid tradition. It's worse. You see, before the date of the celebration was set this year, August 1st, my husband wanted to go on a week-long vacation to Greece. They were supposed to start August 1st. So yes, my brilliant husband shaved our daughter's head to get back at me for taking away his vacation. He thought that this way we would avoid reuniting with my family, or at least, I would feel what he felt. Yes, I too don't know whether to laugh or cry. It ended with me sleeping on the couch, him taking the bedroom, and going to work in the morning. Now our daughter is currently with my parents while I consider my next move. I don't want arguing again, but I'm certainly not going to leave it like that. Edit, okay, I appreciate all the comments, and as I wrote, our daughter is currently staying with my parents. That said, when I took her to them we talked. The good news is that we joked a bit about the fact that at least now we don't have to comb her hair. The atmosphere was better than in recent days. Together we found some positives in this whole situation, and using your advice, I also decided to assure her that she still looks wonderful and that nothing that happened was her fault or I'm not mad at her. Unfortunately, the bad news is that she is still sad. She said she still wanted to have her hair dyed and that she's already starting to miss plate. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Can you ever trust your husband alone with your daughter again? He used her to punish you. Think about that. Now she's upset because she was too young to understand the results of shaving her head. Your husband is disgusting. Reply, oh, I'm definitely thinking about it. I'm going to pack up some of our daughter's things and take them to my parents' house. I won't let her be around him until this whole thing calms down. Commenter 2, what on earth? He was getting back at you. Has he behaved this way before? Will he do it again in my worry? How far would he go? I'm not sure what you can do about your daughter's hair. Is there a singer or actress she likes that wears wigs to change her hair? If so, maybe show her to encourage her to try. Reply, you see, the strangest thing is that I can't recall a single situation where he was this extreme. Did we ever argue or disagree on something? Sure. But he never used our daughter against me or became like that. It usually went normal, a small argument, followed by an apology and a normal conversation. Literally, just a few days ago, I would have called him a good father and husband. Commenter 3, I'm still concerned about your 10-year-old, especially in a couple of months when she goes back to school. It's one thing to give a boy a buzz cut in the summer, but there aren't too many girls who have completely shaved heads, and I'm worried about what she might go through with her classmates, or even other adults who might treat her differently thinking she might be recovering from cancer or a surgery. This is not just about doing something to upset you, and ruin your vacation. This is something that your daughter has to live with until it grows out, which could be a year before it looks normal. Reply, for now, I'm hoping the hair will grow enough before she come back to school. If not, I'll try to approach this as if nothing's happening and observe it and react accordingly. Commenter 4, well, your next move is hiring a divorce lawyer, right? Reply, honestly, I have no idea. I know Reddit likes to talk about divorce, but I've been with this man for over 10 years, and this is the first time I've ever been in a situation like this. I literally can't remember anything as awful as this. Of course, our daughter will stay with my parents for now, but I plan to have a long talk with him. We might need to go to couples therapy. Maybe he'll learn from this on his own. And maybe this incident will actually lead to our divorce. Stories number 9. My 20M brother, 26M, strongly resents me due to girl issues and has treated my girlfriend poorly. Should I cut off contact with him or is there anything I can to help? Basically, my brother has never been exactly successful with girls. To be blunt, he's a virgin, has not had a first kiss or gone on a date. He's kind of a nerdy guy, but I'm like a super nerd too. We both play games, read a lot and stuff. Main difference between us is that I also have other hobbies like sports and in general talk to girls more, I think. Though I don't know if talk to girls more is a symptom or the cause. Either way, he kind of strongly resents me for talking to girls. He says that it isn't fair and that I shouldn't be able to do that since I'm younger and shorter than him. For some reason the height is a big thing for him. I'm about 170 centimeters, he's about 185 centimeters. He questions me every time I mention I'm going to go out and gets kind of strongly pissed off if I tell him I'm going with my girlfriend. He's been doing this since I want to say 14, but since I entered this relationship, about a year and a half, almost 2 years now, anniversary coming up soon, smiley face, he got way worse. I don't live with him anymore, but he still calls a lot and has been getting upset. He used to call me in the middle of the night when he felt bad about his girl issues. He had a habit of saying he felt worthless because of not being able to date girls and sometimes calling me around 4 a.m. or so in a borderline panic attack to talk to me about it. I told him to stop this because, well, it was one thing to do it when I was younger, but now my girlfriend usually sleeps with me. Like even when we don't do anything sex related, we just like to sleep together because, hey, cuddling is awesome and I'll fight anyone who disagrees. So I don't like my phone ringing at 4 a.m. and told him to stop. Recently he flew over to visit me, I'm at university, and, well, I kind of got the impression he flew over more to try to date someone than to see me. My girlfriend had a, less than positive impression of him and I can't even disagree with her. She went into super protective mode and was like, okay, we're keeping him away from you, because, well, his behavior in person got a lot worse than last time I saw him, like 2 years before, and he kind of looked at me and my girlfriend funny every time we kissed and stuff. He also, and this is according to my girlfriend and a friend of hers, looked at them in ways that made them feel uncomfortable and looked down my girlfriend's shirt while she was bending over to get something. He used to see a therapist but gave up. Parents are of no help in that regard. Major reason I've kind of reached my limit is that when I confronted him about the looking down my girlfriend's shirt incident, he started to cry and say that I was being a terrible person because I was turning the first time he saw boobs into a bad memory. I'm not exaggerating it. That's exactly what he said. After that I was like, okay. I'm done with you, and didn't talk to him until he left. I spent the whole time with my girlfriend to make sure she was okay with everything. She is okay with me, rather hates him though, which is more than fair. He also complained that I was apparently having more fun with my other friends than with him and tried to yell at me for it. I feel bad for him because, there was a time when he was just a really supportive guy and I thought he was awesome. I remember being like 6 and wanting to grow up to being just like him. And now it's like, what happened to you, man? I idolized you, how did it turn out like this? Where's the big brother who had my back and taught me how to handle problems at school? At the same time, the way he's acting is unacceptable, so I'm at a point where either he needs to seriously change himself or I can't see him again. TLDR, brother is not good with girls, resents me due to having a girlfriend, acted super creepily toward my girlfriend. I tried getting him into therapy, he gave up and refuses to go back. Is there anything else I can do for him or should I just cut off contact with him? Update, I'm 21 now and he's 27. Been a while since I posted. Happened to come home for a week, reading week at university, and saw I was still logged into this throwaway, figured an update might be good in case anyone was curious, and more importantly writing things down tends to give me some clarity. So, I've unfortunately cut off my brother from my life. Not completely, but that's more to avoid issues than anything else. I still occasionally respond to his texts like once every 2 weeks or so, but I've stopped talking and hanging out with him. It's just that a less dramatic cutting him off is more effective than a "we're done" talk and avoids many issues. He attempted to get into therapy again after I bargained with him, said I'd hang out with him a bit more if he did, but he quickly stopped going after saying that his therapy visits just made him feel worse. Later he explained that he felt like the therapist was judging him by trying to find out why he wasn't having success with women. He didn't quite tell me like that, but after filtering through his rants, that is basically what he said. He repeated things like, felt so judged, and, made it feel like it was my fault, a lot. From what he said, it sounded like the therapist wasn't doing anything wrong in my opinion. He continued to treat women poorly and, well, put it this way, he went back to college to join a bunch of clubs so he could hang out and meet new people. Couple days later, he mentions the girls were super superficial and on the same breath starts talking about how attractive they were. Says he's just an emotional sponge to women, which he described to me as, well, just being a friend. Things like hanging out when a friend is down or buying them a soda when you feel like they had a tough day. The way he described it, it sounded like some kind of hell instead of, well, friendship. So I come home one week, parents' place, tournament was near home rather than university, having just gotten a medal at aforementioned tournament, WO, with girlfriend and friends from the team. We are all in a good mood, I cook food and stuff. He goes to his room in a hurry so I brought him some food I cooked since I know he's awkward in front of new people but might still be hungry. He kind of, not really intentionally, but sort of made me drop the plate by getting on my face and rushing at me, if that makes sense. I was kinda scared. He went on a semi-incoherent rant about how people like him made him feel terrible, and seeing me with friends' girlfriend sports was the absolute worst thing for his self-esteem, how I was a terrible brother and things like that. He also called me a normie, which is a thing I wish no one not in high school said unironically. Overall he was being very negative and, well, a jerk, so I was like, okay, and went downstairs to spend time with friends. Later we went back to our university town, sorry for being vague, just on the super unlikely case he's reading this since he's big on reading Reddit, well then again guess he'd know from context anyway so I guess I'm just being paranoid, and started having a party there. I say party, but come on, we're the fencing team, we're the nerdiest of athletes. It was actually just friends hanging out with some girly drinks, I proudly love girly drinks, they are the best thing, pizza and One Punch Man. I'm having a blast and he calls, asked what I was doing, and when I answered he started crying and going on a rant about how it was unfair that people like me got to have that. I don't even know what "people like me" means. But either way, he was having too much of an effect on my life and my girlfriend got so sad worrying about me I figured that taking care of my brother wasn't selfless, not now that I'm sharing my life with someone, been living with her for a year now and dating her for over 2, smiley face. I wanted to be a nice, loving brother and to care over his mental state over my own, but even if I wanted that, I can't possibly care for his mental state over my girlfriend's. And she got way too sad watching me. I had to be a little selfish, so yeah. Nothing overly dramatic, just kind of did some growing up and realized that nothing ever affects only me, because I'm surrounded by wonderful friends and loved ones. So I put up a lot, of distance between brother and I've never been so happy. Hurts to distance myself from the brother I've always admired. Like, when I was little, I wanted to be just like him, you know. But now fuck. It is what it is. Looking back doesn't get me anywhere, right? Or how my coach puts it, looking back is literally against the rules, so like don't do it. For some reason thinking that always puts a smile on my face, smiley face. TLDR, cut brother off after he tried to spoil tournament after party and I saw how much my stress was making my girlfriend sad. Am happy now. Final comments. Commenter 1. The verbiage he's using reminds me of Inkel's. Exact same language and everything. They're a miserable lot in general. He is digging his own grave with friends women with that attitude. There isn't much more you can do other than cut contact and tell him to seek therapy. Reply. Jesus, that place is horrifying, and it does sound like language he has used before. I hope to God he hasn't been there, but oh my God, man. I don't want to believe it, but it does actually fit. Jesus. Guess it was definitely the right decision to cut him off. Commenter 2. Jesus, he sounds like Elliot Rodger. Everything your brother has done sounds obnoxious, but is there any way to help him that won't be a burden on you? Dude needs help. Reply. I've tried getting him into therapy, but he's rejected that at every corner. I don't know what to do about him. Commenter 3. Is there maybe something wrong with him mentally? Like he's not all there? Reply. He seems all there about everything except women, and social stuff in general. Fairly smart guy and all, doesn't stumble upon his words or anything around me. He just thinks women are basically the devil. He suffers from depression according to the therapist that he saw for a little bit before quitting, but that's all I can tell you for sure. What do OOP's parents think of this? Same approach as me, they are both trying to make him go to therapy. His response was that if we keep insisting he's just going to move out, which might turn out to be the case. He originally wanted to move in with me, but I shut him down firmly. Commenter 4. Your poor parents, I can't imagine what I'd do if one of my kids turned out like this. Reply. I know, it kills me too. I'm just trying to be as supportive as I can with them and make them proud. They blame themselves about how things turned out, but I always try to convince them that they were wonderful parents because, well, they were and still are. They were the absolute best. It's just this just sort of happened and we don't know how to deal with it. Stories number 10. Aita for backing my sil up and kicking my wife's friend out of house for touching my niece. My wife and I have been married for 3 years and my wife and I and my sil, wife's sister, we all live together. She has 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old. Me and my wife help her, mostly my wife cause she's at home most of the time. But her friend has been a pain for us. I don't like her. She lives near us and has been friends with me wife for a year. She comes over almost every other day and spends hours. She's senseless and rude and talks loudly. We have to remind her almost every time that she has to wash her hands before touching children, and the worst part, she sometimes shows up drunk. She came over 2 days ago and touched my 5-month-old niece without washing her hands, and top of that she was drunk. My sil got angry and asked her to get out of our house. She said that she's sorry and went to wash her hands, but my sil grabbed her hand and asked her to leave, and I had enough of her as well, so I joined in as well and asked her to leave. She was very angry but didn't say anything and left. But at night when I was using my wife's phone I saw that she texted my wife and she said that we were rude and we shouldn't have insulted her, and she is trying to warn her, my wife, that there's something going on between me and my sil. When I saw her text I asked my wife if she still wants to be friends with this one after what she texted. My wife said she doesn't know what I'm talking about. I showed her, and after reading my wife said that she never expected her friend to say something like this and she's breaking her friendship with her. I said it's necessary because if she didn't cut her off I would have divorced her. My wife got angry at me for bringing up divorce and she's not talking to me after yelling at me for half an hour. My sil says that I am wrong for mentioning divorce when it's her friend's fault and not my wife's. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my classmate to go F herself after she framed me as an ableist and made my semester hell. This whole thing happened during spring semester. We have a deaf classmate. He sits on the front row with his interpreter and while I am all for accessibility, I've always found it distracting, but I never complained to the professor or said anything in class. But one day, I vented privately to a friend and said, I wish they sat in the back of class, that way it wouldn't be so distracting for the rest of us. That was it. Just venting, nothing hateful. She decided to tell him. Framed it like I had a problem with him having an interpreter, because she thinks people like him deserve to know how others really feel. Next class, he confronted me, interpreter and all, and asked in front of everyone if I had a problem with his accommodations. I explained I didn't mean it that way, that I just struggle with distraction, but he got really upset and said I was being ableist and I had no right making him feel like a burden for existing. I still don't know what was his purpose, but he said that last line using his voice. He normally doesn't use his voice. The whole thing was so awkward. I don't know how to explain this without making it weird, but just imagine a visibly disabled person telling you that you're an ableist who made him feel like a burden and about 40 people staring at you like you are the biggest POS on the earth. Yeah. The rest of the semester was literal hell. The whole class and even some professors treated me like I was a horrible person who bullied the disabled kid. I ended up apologizing to him, because I clearly hurt his feelings, even thought it was unintentional, but I felt like I was put in a terrible position by my friend. Yesterday, out of nowhere, my friend texted me saying she regrets how she handled it and wants to make it up to me. I told her to go fuck herself. She said I'm immature and still haven't emotionally grown. Maybe I was harsh, but she made my life miserable and framed me as someone I'm not. Stories number 12. My therapist called me out with the most brutal honesty I've ever heard and I can't stop thinking about it. Had my weekly session yesterday and we were talking about my habit of overthinking literally everything. Like, I'll spend 3 hours analyzing a text message before responding, or replay conversations from 2019 at 2 a.m. She looks at me and goes, "You know what your problem is? You're running a full diagnostic on a paper cut while ignoring the broken leg." I just sat there like, damn. That hit different. But then I remembered this weird shirt my roommate wears that says something like, "My anxiety has anxiety," and I started laughing because it's so painfully accurate. Like, I literally give myself anxiety about being anxious, then get anxious about that anxiety, and the cycle just never ends. My therapist asked why I was laughing, and when I explained, she actually wrote it down in her notes. Said it was the most self-aware thing I'd said all month. Now I can't stop thinking about both things, her brutal observation and that ridiculous shirt. It's like they're connected somehow. Like maybe the people who get the joke are the ones who need to hear it most. Anyway, I'm supposed to practice just existing without analyzing every breath I take. We'll see how that goes. Anyone else have those moments where someone says something so blunt it rewires your brain a little? Stories number 13. AIO for asking my coworker to pay me back for the coffee she's been taking from my desk. Okay, this feels petty, but I need to know if I'm being reasonable here. There's this coworker who sits near me and for the past month she's been helping herself to the fancy coffee pods I keep at my desk that I bought to treat myself with a win on stake slots. At first I didn't mind because it was just once in a while, but now it's literally every single day, sometimes twice a day. These aren't cheap either, they're like $1.50 per pod and I only buy them because I'm trying to cut back on my Starbucks spending to save money for a vacation. I calculated it out and she's probably used about $45 worth of my coffee in the past month. Yesterday I finally said something like, "Hey, just so you know, those pods cost quite a bit, would you mind chipping in or bringing your own?" And she got super offended. She said she thought I was just being nice by sharing and that it's weird to keep track of something so small. But the thing is, I never actually offered to share them. She just started taking them one day and I was too awkward to say anything at first. Now apparently I'm the bad guy for bringing up money. She's been giving me the cold shoulder all week and even made some comment to other people about how I'm nickel and diming her over coffee. But like, if someone was eating your lunch every day without asking, you'd say something, right? Stories number 14. AITH for telling my unemployed boyfriend I'd support him, then refusing to buy him a $2,000 gaming PC. I, 25F, have been living with my boyfriend, 27M, for a little over a year. 6 months ago, he lost his job. When it first happened, I told him I'd support him until he got back on his feet. I meant it. I picked up more hours at work, tightened our budget, and made sure rent, groceries, and bills were covered. It's been financially draining, but I figured we were a team. The thing is, he hasn't really made any effort to get a new job. He sleeps late, games all day, and brushes off any conversation about applications or interviews. Every time I bring it up, he says he's not mentally ready or that nothing out there is good enough. I'm out here juggling bills and working overtime while he hasn't earned a cent in half a year. Last week, he sent me a link to a $2,000 gaming PC and asked if I could help him out with it. I was stunned. I asked him how he thought that made any sense when we're on a tight budget and he's not contributing financially. He got upset and said I promised I'd support him while he's unemployed and that this would help with his mental escape. He said I was being selfish and backing out on my word. I told him I've been supporting him covering everything, emotionally and financially, but a high-end gaming PC isn't a necessity. He accused me of being unfair and said if the roles were reversed, he'd do it for me. His sister even messaged me later and said I'm acting like a hypocrite by deciding what parts of support matter and which don't. Now he's being cold, barely talks to me, and acts like I betrayed him. I've supported him emotionally and financially for months while he's done little to improve his situation. Covering all our living expenses and sacrificing my own comfort has already stretched me thin. Buying a $2,000 gaming PC isn't part of that agreement, especially when we're struggling to get by. I didn't expect support to mean funding luxury items while he avoids responsibilities. I stuck to what I could realistically offer, and now I feel like I'm being punished for setting a boundary. Stories number 15. My college roommates and her friends would eat all of my food, so they ate brains. I was in college full-time and working full-time, so I had little time to meal prep. I would make enough meals for a few days and store them on my designated shelf in our shared dorm fridge. I'd come home from a very long day and just want to eat and relax, but I'd almost always have no food left. 9 times out of 10 I'd actually walk into them eating my meals. They'd even have the guts to say how good it tasted and they're sad there wasn't more. I've asked over and over to stop eating my damn food. Nope, wouldn't listen. So, I went home to my parents' house and made a lot of spaghetti, good spaghetti. Knowing they would most certainly eat the whole thing. Sure enough, I get home to my dorm after a long day and these 3, not even my roommates, girls are standing in the kitchen eating my spaghetti and the huge bowl is almost gone. The one girl says to how much she loves it and wants to know how I made it. Straight-faced I tell her that is a common meal we make on the farm, we go to the butcher and get head cheese, that's the meat in the spaghetti. She was confused, total city kids, and didn't know what head cheese was. I answer, well, it's pig brains. It's really good, isn't it? That's what most of my meals are made from. She throws my bowl of spaghetti down and runs to the bathroom puking everywhere. The others took off out of the dorm running, too. That is how I ended them stealing my food with such sweet petty revenge. Nobody touched my food ever again. Nor did they talk to me, win-win. Also, the meat was not head cheese brains, it was pork sausage and very lean beef mixed together to resemble cooked pig brains. Stories number 16. I keep thinking about the woman whose husband threw away her kitchen utensils. There was a post on a popular sub where a woman discussed that she was upset because her husband threw away all of her plastic and silicone cooking baking utensils and bought her a wooden set as a replacement because he was concerned about microplastics. It was established that she does the cooking and the cleaning. The Peanut Gallery said she should be grateful that he got her a beautiful set of wooden tools. It wasn't that nice. They dismissed her opinion feelings because she wasn't sophisticated enough to appreciate the upgrade. They condescended to her about microplastics. They said he did her a favor. Nobody acknowledged that she now had to hand wash every tool she used. Lord knows the husband wasn't doing it. Very few seemed concerned that the husband just made a decree and didn't bother having a discussion with her. This really pissed me off. Fine, whatever, microplastics are bad. I personally don't use plastic tools with heat, but it's not the point. Those were her tools that she had acquired to make food for her family. Can you imagine if a woman went out into the garage and threw away a man's tools? To the gallows. I like my silicone tools because I do a lot of baking. Ever tried getting dough out of wood grain? Scrambled eggs? Fuck that. Since he didn't clean, this would become her problem. Not sure why I'm even posting this other than I keep thinking about it whenever I'm in the kitchen doing some messy meal and am tossing my tools into the dishwasher without a care in the world. Stories number 17. I, 30F, took off my engagement ring after 12 years with my fiancé, 30M, I think I'm done, but now he wants to change. I, 30F, have been with my fiancé, 30M, for 12 years. We met in school, got engaged 2 years ago and have a 5-year-old daughter together. He's a kind man at heart, but he's a workaholic. Over the past few years, he's become more and more consumed by work, often staying up late, waking at 3 a.m. to work again, falling asleep on the sofa most nights. I've asked for help repeatedly but nothing changes. I work full-time, study in the evenings, exercise to manage stress, and I'm the default parent, every routine, every meltdown, every bedtime, every household task. He promises to help and then just doesn't. Example, the other night he said he'd put our daughter to bed. At 9:30, I found him snoring while she watched cartoons on his phone after he gave her chocolate before bed. She was wired until 10:30 p.m. and I had to take over again. Last night, I broke down crying. He asked if I wanted to talk. I said no. I was too exhausted to speak and he just went to sleep on the sofa again. I came downstairs after studying, saw him still asleep, dishes not done like he promised he would do, and quietly took off my engagement ring and left it on the table. This morning, I got a long message from him. He says he now truly sees the damage, that he's been emotionally shut down from his own trauma, that he's been in a dark place and taking me for granted. He says he'll go to therapy, change how he works, show up better, and is asking for 30 days to prove himself. And now I'm torn. Part of me wants to believe him. It's everything I've wanted him to say, months ago. But another part of me feels like it's too late. I've been holding it all together alone for too long. I'm tired, hurt, and honestly unsure if I even want to try anymore. So Reddit, I need advice. Can people really change after years of emotional absence? Has anyone tried a trial period like this? Did it help or just delay the inevitable? How do I protect myself, and my daughter, emotionally if I do give him this time? I'm not wearing the ring anymore. I haven't promised anything. I'm just trying to figure out if there's anything left worth saving or if I've already outgrown this version of us. Thanks for reading. Any insight or experience is deeply appreciated. Edit, thanks for all the responses so far. I just wanted to answer a few common questions that keep coming up. Does he work extra hours because we need the money? No. We could live off my salary alone. We have everything we need, a house with a low mortgage, no car payments, and no major debts. His extra hours don't bring in extra pay, he's salaried. He's a project manager at a large corporate firm and is working toward yet another promotion. He's a yes man at work, always overextending himself even when it means logging on in the middle of the night. He says it's for the family, but truthfully, it's about career ambition and people pleasing. Have I helped him with his trauma? This is the first time he's ever opened up about trauma. I knew his childhood was a bit rough, but for years he insisted it didn't affect him. Now, suddenly, it's being named as a reason for his emotional disconnection. I'm not minimizing it. I understand trauma is real, but until now, it was completely buried and never talked about. Have I brought this up before? Yes. Over and over. I've told him clearly, calmly, even desperately, what I needed. He always says he's helping by working so hard. And if he does the dishes or takes our daughter to bed once in a while, he wants a medal. He genuinely believes he's doing enough because his intentions are good, but good intentions don't carry a household. Context on my life career: I work in a law firm, it's often very stressful, and I'm currently sitting my FE1 exams, which are the Irish equivalent of the bar. I could have qualified years ago, but I kept putting my own career goals on the back burner to support his. Every time he needed flexibility, space, late nights, I gave it. I don't regret supporting him, but I do regret losing myself in the process. Top comments. Commenter 1, you told him, repeatedly, that you were unhappy. He didn't take steps to change until it impacted his potential happiness comfort. Leaving the ring on the table was you saying, too late, I'm done. And now he promises change. Where was all this when you were begging for help? He doesn't listen when you tell him there is a problem. Not until you make it his problem. Is this really the relationship you want? Because it's the one you've got. Commenter 2, 30 days isn't going to prove anything. He can turn it on for 30 days, but that doesn't mean it's going to last beyond that. What's 30 days against however many years of this behavior from him? Commenter 3, honestly, emotional trauma, therapy and 30 days don't mix. He saw the damage, just ignored it. Now he's just sorry you're putting your foot down. At least that's what it looks like to me. Commenter 4, this has been a problem for a long time. You've told him about it multiple times. If he wanted to change, he would have. He's had plenty of chances. He's only talking about changing now because his inaction is about to deliver consequences. It was never important until it was about to affect him. It was never important to him. All your requests and complaints and troubles were not important to him. Think about that. This is nothing new. You didn't drop a bomb on him with information he didn't have before. He knew. It wasn't important to him. Don't listen to the sounds coming out of his mouth. He can say anything he wants. If you want to stick it out a little bit longer, watch his actions. Tell him what you want, but don't lift a finger to help him do it. You want him to go to therapy. Then he makes the appointments, and he goes, or he doesn't. You want him to help around the house. You can suggest basic directions, but then watch what he chooses to do. The same with parenting. Let him know when it's his turn and then watch what he does. If he really wants to change, he will step up. Otherwise, he will offer excuses. If he steps up, great. Still watch, because if the excuses come back, it must not have been that important to him. And if you're honestly done, go ahead and be done. He could have made these changes at any time. It wasn't important to him. You don't have to stick around. Update: we were supposed to talk tonight, just one honest conversation to see if there was anything left to save. But he fell asleep putting our daughter to bed and never came down. No message, no effort. That moment confirmed what I've been feeling deep down for a while. I've been holding this relationship together alone. Giving chances. Getting my hopes up and being let down every single time. To be fair, over the past 2 days he did try. He was suddenly being the partner I've been asking for. He cleaned without being asked, made me coffee, which he rarely did, and sent me long, apologetic texts. He acknowledged how much he's hurt me and even told me he booked a therapy session for Monday. But the truth is, I feel like it's too late. It took me reaching my breaking point for him to react. And even now, when we finally had a chance to talk, he fell asleep again. He'll wake up in our daughter's bed and find the message I sent, telling him that I'm done. I don't even want to speak to him at this point, though I know I'll have to for the sake of our daughter. I'm hurt, exhausted, and emotionally checked out. After 12 years together, and 5 of those raising a child, I've hit a point where love has turned into resentment. I don't recognize us anymore. I know this won't be easy. But I also know it's necessary. I need peace. I need clarity, and I need to stop trying to fix something that's been broken for far too long. Thank you again to everyone who helped me feel less alone in this. It meant more than you know. TLDR, fiancé and I, both 30, have been together for 12 years and have a 5-year-old daughter. He's a kind man but a workaholic who's been emotionally and practically absent for a long time. I reached my limit. He made a last-minute effort the past 2 days, cleaned, made coffee, booked therapy. But tonight, when we were meant to talk, he fell asleep again. I sent him a message ending it. I'm heartbroken but also at peace. I can't carry this alone anymore. Top comments. Commenter 1, I have had this happen also. They do everything you've ever asked of them when they know you are done. They think this helps. What they don't realize is it just pisses us off even more, because now we know they knew what and how to do what we asked for all along. They just did not care until we are walking out the door. 2F** King late AH. Commenter 2, spoiler alert, he won't change. Commenter 3, to be fair, over the past 2 days he did try. He was suddenly being the partner I've been asking for. He cleaned without being asked, made me coffee, which he rarely did, and sent me long, apologetic texts. He acknowledged how much he's hurt me and even told me he booked a therapy session for Monday. Oh, for 2 whole days? No. Also, this means he was capable all along but just didn't want to. Do with that what you will. Stories number 18. Aita for stopping paying my ex's bills. My ex and I split up about 3 years ago. No bad feelings, we just drifted apart until we realized that we were now co-parents, not husband and wife anymore. We have 2 kids, 13 and 10. My ex used to work as an infrastructure engineer and I was working as an owner-driver with my own truck. At around the time the kids were born we decided she was going to be a stay-at-home mom. The trucking was going well and I had brought a second truck and a van, so I stayed home doing all the planning and admin, while I had the trucks and van out. When the smallest started school the ex went back to work part-time, but her time out of the workforce had hit her really hard and she needed to learn lots of stuff, and basically she couldn't get back in at her previous level and had to pretty much start over. Over the years the haulage firm had expanded and frankly it was getting a bit of a pain in the arse. We were too big for where we were and were needing to move to a new yard, so I sold it off for a reasonable sum and set up freelancing as a dev, did computer science at uni. We both had relatives pass away leaving us property and money. So we were mortgage free on the family home. When we split, I moved into a house that I had inherited. We basically split the assets in half, split the costs of the kids' activities in half. And when we were sat looking at the money, she concluded that she would need to go back to work full-time and she would miss time with the kids, as they were with me the 3 days she was at work and every other weekend. I felt a bit bad for that, because if she hadn't been out of work for so long then she would be in a better place career-wise. So I offered to cover half of her bills until the kids went off to uni. She didn't want to at first, but I said to her that she helped me out and had now suffered as a result, so it was only fair that I returned the favor. It's helping my kids out, and I didn't want her to be running down the savings that was essentially the kids' inheritance. So this situation has worked out about as well as it can. We co-parent happily, everything is all good. Until she met a new guy. He's someone we knew from way back but we lost touch with. They started dating, she's really happy and she's talking about him moving in. Which I'm okay with, the kids get on with him and I trust her judgment and know that she wouldn't put anything ahead of the kids. So I said to her, if Lado is moving in you won't need the money towards the bills will you? She said no she wouldn't, but she was thinking of putting it into the kids' accounts. Great idea says me. I'll put some on their cards for pocket money and the rest in their savings. So that was what we agreed, but when new chap found out he went up the wall and accused me of being controlling and financial abuse. A few of our friends have also said that he's got a point and that it looks like jealousy. So Aita here. Update. We have joint 50-50 custody of the kids so I have no actual obligation to be paying anything, but that said, I don't want my kids to miss out on their many and varied activities so I carry on paying for half of those. Likewise I offered the extra money to help with bills because I wanted my kids to benefit from time with both parents and also to not have to live in a house where money is a worry. Some have mentioned when division of assets from inheritance and selling my business, these are mostly locked away in long-term investments so they aren't available. We were perhaps unwise in doing this, but we saw it as the kids' inheritance. My ex would rather have worked more than dipped into that money for living costs. The ex has been round for a cup of tea and a chat. It seems that Lado was indeed thinking that she was his meal ticket. Apparently he had suggested moving in but not told her that his landlord was ending his tenancy on a Section 21 to sell the property. When she started discussing money and his contribution he asked why when I was paying for the kids. So she told him if he was living there he needed to chip in, and that if he moved in she couldn't keep asking for money from me. So she's upset and I think that's going to be over. In the meantime he's ranting to anyone that'll listen that I'm the typical evil jealous ex and controlling her with money. Update. So Lado turned out to have been being kicked out of his place, not through fault, the landlord was selling, he hadn't told my ex. Also he works with my best mate who told me that he's on incredibly thin ice and was on his last chance for attendance. Me, the ex and Lado got together at the weekend and had a long chat. The main points were, if he is going to be her partner and live there then he has to step up, and contribute both financially and also with the children. As regards the bills both my ex and I had an expectation that another adult in the house would be contributing, meaning that bill money from me would be superfluous. I agreed that stopping the money because someone moves in and potentially restarting it if they move out does look like it's controlling although it was agreed that I didn't have that intent. I said that I would continue giving my ex the money and that if it was surplus to requirements that she would put it in the kids' accounts. I do trust her that she will do this. At that point I left, and went home thinking all was good. I'm on holiday with the kids this week and I got a warning that the house alarm was going off. Rang me neighbors and he went round and said that one of the windows had been smashed and that my other car had had all its windows smashed. Logged into my cameras on the iPad and sure enough it's Lado smashing the fuck out of the car and throwing bricks at the window. Turns out that after I left him and the ex had a major talk where she laid out some home truths and expectations and when she didn't like the reaction she got she ended it. So a couple of days later he got pissed and came round to my place and smashed it up. I obviously reported it to the police and with me being away they spoke to me over the phone and asked me to send all the footage if I could and a statement and they'd speak to him that day. Turns out he got stopped on the way back from mine, was over the limit and was sleeping it off in custody before he could be charged. Edit. I've seen a couple of comments about how I need to speak to the ex and tell them to be more careful. I 100% trust her judgment in who comes into the kids' lives. I was just as surprised by him as she was, and like most people she's capable of learning from experience. Also another edit. The Glaziers have been back out, oh the lady next door big style for all the help she's been, and apparently the total bill just for the house is going to be about £7,000. That's not counting the car, which is an old Rover I was restoring so no idea how much that will cost. Stories number 19. My 31F fiancé, 30M, says our OB appointment was one of the most uncomfortable experiences of his life, but I felt it was completely normal. I recently had our first OB appointment for this pregnancy. I thought the visit was good. The staff was polite, the doctor was helpful, and overall it felt just like the checkups we had when I was pregnant with our first child. Nothing felt unusual or off to me at all. That same evening, my boyfriend randomly started a huge argument. It continued the next morning, and at the time, I had no idea what triggered it. Several hours later, he finally told me he thought the OB appointment was one of the most uncomfortable experiences of his life. He said the nurses were side-eyeing me, giving me weird looks, and that the energy in the room was off-putting. He also said it was highly embarrassing for him. When I told him I hadn't noticed any of that and thought everything felt normal, he told me that I have a coping mechanism to avoid reality and that I never notice how people treat me. He has said things like this before. He has told me that people give me weird looks or judge him for being with me. I never see it, and it leaves me feeling confused, self-conscious, and emotionally worn down. I've tried expressing how much it hurts when he says things like this and how it affects how I see myself. But it keeps coming up. Now I'm realizing that he may have started the argument because of how he felt about the appointment, but instead of telling me, he let it build up and come out in another way. That pattern is really hard to deal with. I'm trying to figure out how to approach this. I want to feel supported and emotionally safe, especially while pregnant. Has anyone dealt with a situation like this before? I'm not sure how to navigate it. Edit to add context. He has said that we don't go together looks-wise because he is physically fit and in shape, while I am not. That's his response when I ask why he feels like people are judging him. Stories number 20. Aita for telling my husband's childhood best friend she's too involved with my kid. A bit over a year and a half ago me and my husband gave birth to our son. It was our first kid and we were incredibly nervous and scared we were gonna screw things up. The first week with him back were horrid. He cried all the time and it was ridiculously exhausting, but I'd be lying if I said we didn't know what we were getting into. At the start my husband's BSF was amazing. She would come round all the time, bring us food, spend time with our son babysitting so we could some time away, and really appreciated the help, and she seemed to genuinely love my son. When my maternity leave was finished and I went back to work, she offered even more of her time to help with babysitting instead of me hiring someone. I said that I couldn't make her do that and she surely had other things due, and she said it was fine, she works from home on her online businesses anyway, and she even refused pay. And honestly I didn't mind any of the help until now. I recently noticed on our doorbell that she had been coming in at night while I was doing occasional night shifts. I thought it was strange, but free help, so I never confronted it as weird as I felt it was. But yesterday when I came home from a shift and found my son playing with her and found that he kept referring to her as mama, I think something kinda broke inside of me and I told her to get out. She protested and asked what's wrong, and I just asked her to leave and to not come here again, and she accused me of being jealous and that I was scared I was being replaced. She pointed out that if I was a more involved parent my husband and son wouldn't need a second wife, and I screamed at her, told her if she knows what's good for her she should get out. She finally did. My husband came home a bit after and I told him about, and he just shrugged and didn't say anything. But my MIL called and had a go at me, basically repeating her talking points and saying that I needed to apologize. And honestly I'm at a lost cause at this point. I feel really bad and felt like went too far. Am I the arsehole? Edit. My MIL just called my husband to set me straight, and to allow my husband's BSF to be allowed in the house to see her grandson, and that I need to get used to the fact that my son sees someone else as a mum. At this point she practically is a second wife, especially considering I'm working. And honestly fuck her and fuck all of you in the comments who think I'm a shit mother for bloody working. Stories number 21. My 30M girlfriend, 35F, told me her friend's recent engagement is her dream proposal. That is not the proposal I have planned. Do I still propose? Her friend got engaged and she was showing me their photos, telling me the guy did well and that's such a dream proposal. I asked her if she meant or location or what, and she said yes, in Italy or Greece or somewhere nice. The issue is, I have a proposal planned. It's going to be on a beach in California. We're from Canada. I've already asked her parents for their blessing and told them it would be next month. Now I'm second-guessing myself if I should even go ahead with proposing, knowing it won't be in some nice European country that she wants. My girlfriend knows that I will be proposing soon. We've talked about marriage and such. She even showed me her dream ring, which is the one I bought. I'm not sure if she's trying to tell me to not propose if it's not in Europe, but I'm not sure how I feel about dropping 10K to go to Italy just to propose, and she probably can't even get that many days off work. What would you do in my shoes? Reddit. Edit. Thank you everyone who commented. Most of you guys said if she says no cause it's not in Italy I should run, and y'all are probably right, huh? I doubt she'll say no, but I just wanted a really good proposal for her. Some ladies also told me she's dropping the hint to propose on our Cali trip, which is something I never thought of, not good at reading between lines. Also thank you to all for suggesting to take her to get her nails done and to wear something nice. I was gonna make it a complete surprise, but then she'll probably want to look her best for the proposal. I have photographers booked and will be sharing my location with them so they can sneakily snap photos of the moment, and then a photo shoot after. Appreciate everyone's advice. I was likely getting too in my own head. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Somewhere nice could absolutely be a beautiful beach in California. Commenter 2. I agree, she didn't drop in somewhere nice for no reason. The devil is probably in the detail, e.g. clean quiet beach, golden hour, good view, dressed nicely, maybe a bottle of bubbles etc. v litter strewn, crowded, at night, motorway adjacent, view of an industrial estate, after a sweaty hike etc. Commenter 3. I think the beach in California sounds fantastic. Greece for the honeymoon. Reply. Greece for honeymoon was what I had in mind as well. Commenter 4. Somewhere nice could mean anywhere including the place that you've chosen in California, so I wouldn't stress over it. Stories number 22. Aita for ordering a takeaway after my in-laws ate my food and called me a picky eater. I, 30s F, had a barbecue with my partner's family about a week ago. Both me and my partner brought food for ourselves and to share as well, since I don't eat certain things, meat apart from bird meat, fish, seafood, can't have too much lactose products or anything too oily, and intolerant to a couple of fruits. With all the above, I get very nasty stomach issues if consumed, and fish, no matter how fresh or cooked, just stinks to me. This was the case from very young age. The food we brought included some chicken pieces, wings, and veggies like asparagus, potatoes and corn. After we got settled, I went to grab some of the food we brought to find out all of it is gone. I have questioned my FIL about it, as he was in charge of the grill and he told me other family members ate it first. I have pointed out that it was the food we brought with ourselves and intended to eat ourselves too, but both FIL and MIL dismissed me and said I am just being a picky eater since there's still food on the table, beef and pork, which I can't eat. I got annoyed and just ordered a takeaway for myself. I don't have stomach issues after eating from the place. My in-laws called me an asshole since I haven't asked anyone else if they wanted to order too, and because it made some of the kids upset. The kids in question are all between 14 to 35 plus in ages. My partner is torn in between, and my in-laws are still making sparky comments and call me a spoiled princess. Edit. A few points that were missed. As stated at the beginning, both me and my partner brought food for ourselves and to share, 3 full bags in total. It is quite common here, UK, to do. I couldn't have left as in-laws live a couple of hours of driving from us. We were staying over and I was not the driver. The FIL was in charge of the grill due to his own rules. He has splurged on an expensive new one not so long ago and would refuse anyone near it. We had some pre-made snacks, but obviously snacks are not really that nutritional or healthy to consume on their own. Edit 2. Other questions answered. They knew about my restrictions and that some of the food is mine and for me due to them. They have known me for nearly a decade and we had plenty of meals and barbecues together, and the restrictions were never a problem. I haven't seen the cooking process as I was in the other part of the garden, which is fairly big, busy with other kids and dogs. We were playing football, so I wasn't aware when the cooking started. There was plenty of leftovers after, enough to fill the entire fridge, so it was not the case of not having enough food. Stories number 23. AIO for kicking a girl out of my apartment for throwing up. I, 21M, have been seeing this girl, Maddie, 21F, casually for the past couple of weeks, and things were actually going pretty well. We have good chemistry, but I wouldn't say I know her super well just yet. 2 nights ago she came over for a casual night in, but throughout the evening whenever I would turn to face her from the stove or come around a corner in my apartment, I would see Maddie quickly stuff something into her tote bag which she always had next to her. The night went on and she ended up spending the night. But I kept being woken up momentarily by Maddie getting out of bed to go into my living room for something, and even though I would fall asleep pretty much right away, I remember this happening 3 or 4 times. I woke up for real at around 9 AM to Maddie laying on my sofa in the living room, and I reminded her she couldn't stay long as I let her know the night prior I had a lot of work to get done that day. She said no worries and that she would leave in a bit and to feel free to start on my work. I lost track of time, and despite it being noon, Maddie was still laying on my sofa. I asked her if everything was okay and she said of course and reaffirmed that she would be leaving in a bit. I was a little irked but went back to work, and after a few more hours at about 4 PM I heard the sound of violent retching pierce through the bulky headphones I wear at my desk. I rush out into my living room to see an actual nightmare. Maddie was laying sideways on my couch, scrolling on her phone acting like nothing was wrong, a trail of vomit staining the side and pooling on the floor. The sweats I loaned her the night prior were balled up on the arm of the sofa, having been used to soak up even more vomit which was now seeping into the cushion. Not knowing what was going on, I quickly ran to grab her some water and a garbage bag, and on my way there I could see the entire floor of the kitchen was covered in more pools of clear vomit. Even my bathroom wasn't spared as she had thrown up on, in, and around my toilet as well as in my shower. Maddie nonchalantly left for my room as I tried my best to clean things up, and as I did I noticed the bottle of wine Maddie had brought, which was previously 2-3 RDS full, was now empty on my kitchen counter, along with an empty beatbox drink and a half-empty mini bottle of tequila. It turned out Maddie had been sneaking drinks from the moment she arrived at my apartment the night before, as when I saw her tote bag in the middle of cleaning, I saw 2 more empty beatboxes and an empty mini bottle of tequila. I assumed she started on a drinking binge in the early morning which kept waking me up, and she continued to drink into the day even after I let her know she had to leave. I went into my room to confront her on what was going on and she acted extremely annoyed that I was pressing her on the situation. She was shockingly coherent for just having been puking her guts out a few minutes earlier, and it was after she tried to deny the situation that I told her she had 20 minutes to take all her shit, drink some water, and get out of my apartment. I told her she clearly wasn't good to drive and that she either needed to call someone to come get her or Uber home but she couldn't stay. I got back to cleaning, made much more difficult by the puke Maddie left in my bed during the short time she was in my room while I was cleaning the kitchen. After a few minutes I heard my front door slam and she was gone without a word. I still haven't reached out to her since she left, so I have no idea what her current status is and I have no one to reach out to within her circle to see if she's okay. Was I overreacting for treating her so harshly and throwing her out despite her condition? Part of me feels that I should have done more to take care of her, but after what she did she just felt like a total stranger and I felt unsafe with her in my place. Update: AIO for kicking a girl out of my apartment for throwing up. Okay, so despite the warnings of a lot of commenters, I decided to reach out to Maddie one last time to try and get some kind of explanation for her actions since she left without a word after throwing up all over my apartment. I sent her a lengthy message basically telling her how her refusal to leave, her sneaking alcohol, and the indifference to the mess she created made me feel and that I don't wish to see her again. I didn't expect a reply, as me asking why she did it was mostly rhetorical, but she ended up responding with a long text of her own. Please bear with me. To summarize, Maddie claims to have some kind of autoimmune disorder that causes her to be in excruciating pain due to her stomach lining being fucked up, which also causes her to throw up pretty regularly. She then claimed to use alcohol to soothe herself and get through the day. Which is why she was constantly downing shots in secret from the second she walked through my door. However, she then said that doing this makes her stomach condition worse, leading to more vomiting if she comes down off the alcohol, so she has to keep drinking it. She then told me she drove home, 40-minute drive, despite being drunk and blames me for kicking her out despite her being in that condition. Apparently after she got home she was vomiting up blood pretty extensively. Yes, this is what she actually said. I know it sounds insane and stupid. Assuming this is true, and excuse me if this makes me sound insensitive, but it honestly makes me feel even less sorry for doing what I did. She knowingly makes her condition worse knowing it'll lead to fits of vomiting, with it even causing her to vomit up blood in some cases. And then chooses to drink heavily at other people's houses. Not to mention the drunk driving despite me telling her to Uber home, which honestly is the worst part in my mind. Stories number 24. Aita for not letting my niece help blow out my son's birthday candles. My son just turned 5, and we threw him a little backyard birthday party. Nothing extravagant, just close family, some snacks, balloons, and a Costco cake, his request. When it was time for the cake, he was so excited. He stood right in front of it, beaming. As I started lighting the candles, my sister-in-law leaned over and casually said, "Let them both blow the candles out. It's just easier that way." She was referring to her daughter, 4, who's very close in age to my son. I thought she was joking, so I just smiled and kept going. But then she said again, louder, "Come on, don't make her feel left out." I responded kindly but firmly, "This is my son's special moment, he's been looking forward to it all week." We sang, he blew out his candles, and everyone clapped. It was a sweet, simple moment, he was so proud. Afterward, though, Mayasael pulled me aside and said I was being mean-spirited, that they're just kids, and that it would have cost me nothing to let her daughter feel included too. Now I'm second-guessing myself. I didn't want to exclude anyone, but it was my son's birthday. Shouldn't the spotlight be on him? Aita for not letting my niece blow out the candles on someone else's cake. Stories number 25. Steal from me while a guest in my home. Enjoy the fallout. This happened many years ago. I was young, married, and pregnant, the perfect trifecta for social ostracization. Most people felt I'd married up, as my husband came from money and had a good job, which meant that unlike most young married people, I had a beautiful home and nice things. Just about everyone my age was either in college or still in high school. Most of the people I knew who were married and pregnant were much older than me. I was having a hard time. Naively, I initially tried to make and maintain friendships with people my age or a little younger. This was a problem for so many reasons, not the least of which being that when you're young, lonely, and have nice things that most other young people don't have, you can draw the wrong kinds of friends. I developed a friendship with a girl who was finishing up her senior year in high school. We'd gone to the same school and she was a freshman when I was a junior. We had some friends in common. She started coming over to my house and hanging out. One evening she asked if she could bring a friend over to the house with her for dinner. I said sure. At one point that evening, my friend's guest asked to use the restroom. My husband and I explained where it was but didn't escort her, trusting that she'd find it herself. She walked around the corner, ostensibly in the direction of said bathroom, and came back shortly after. The night ended with no clue on my husband's or my part that things were about to get crazy. About a week later, I couldn't find a pair of earrings I wore on my wedding day. My husband bought me a pearl and diamond necklace and earring set as a wedding gift. We tore the house apart looking for them to no avail. My husband said I must have set them down somewhere and forgotten, but we'd eventually find them. I was anxious about it, but I knew the last place I'd had them was at home. We also hadn't done any major deep cleaning or vacuuming, so I knew they had to be around somewhere. A few weeks went by, and I suddenly noticed one of our checking accounts that we set up as a business account for my husband when he was contemplating starting a side hustle was massively in the negative to the tune of almost $1,000. Most of it was overdraft fees, because we didn't keep much of a balance in that account. I immediately called my husband and told him that we had a large negative balance in that specific account. Neither of us had been using the debit card for that account mistakenly, so we began reviewing the charges. All the charges were for stores at the same local mall, and were for places where teenaged girls would typically shop. There were dozens of small to medium purchases, each followed by a $25 overdraft fee once they spent the initial balance we kept in the account to avoid penalties. This all added up to about $1,000 in total theft. We hadn't had many people over, and we specifically kept that debit card in our master bedroom, so it was pretty easy to figure out what happened and just who was responsible. It also wasn't that much of a hop, skip, and a jump to also figure out where my earrings went. Pissed doesn't begin to describe my mental state. I'd been incredibly generous with this friend. I had welcomed her into my home. I had cooked for her and her friend. I called every store in the mall and began asking if they had security cameras. Most did not, but one store had just recently installed security cameras due to issues with shoplifting. They let me know that while they had recorded footage from the day in question, they couldn't hand it over to me but would be happy to provide it to the police if I filed a report. I then contacted my bank. I asked them what the procedure was for declaring charges fraudulent and reversing them. They indicated that an investigation would need to take place and that I had a limited amount of time to make that decision before I permanently assumed responsibility for those charges. They also made it clear that the overdraft fees would not be reversed unless I declared the charges were fraudulent. I did more digging. $2,000 in theft was the cutoff for felony charges. My earrings were worth approximately $800. We had about $1,000 worth of charges plus overdraft fees in the checking account. So, I contacted my friend and let her know the horrible news that someone we'd had over at the house had stolen from me. I explained to her that my pearl earrings from my wedding had gone missing and that someone had stolen a debit card we kept upstairs in my master bedroom before running up charges at the mall. She seemed very sympathetic and said that was just terrible. I then told her a very nice little white lie, that we were going to pursue felony charges, since between the earrings, the charges at all these stores, and the many overdraft fees, more than $2,000 worth of theft had occurred. She was quick to chime in with the information that she was pretty sure there would be no way to prove who'd used my debit card, as the stores at the mall I'd mentioned didn't have security cameras. Bingo. Thanks for doubly confirming what I already knew. That's when I helpfully supplied the information that one of the stores had just recently installed security cameras and that they were preparing to hand it over to the police, once I filed a report. She got extremely quiet after that and said she had to go. Not so surprisingly, she called me back shortly after and asked if she could come over. She showed up within 30 minutes not only with my pearl earrings and debit card, but also a small diamond ring I inherited from my great-aunt that I'd had no clue was missing. I never wore it and primarily held onto it for sentimental reasons. She had a very well-rehearsed little explanation. She hadn't stolen anything from me. Her friends snuck up my stairs, into my bedroom, and stole some of my jewelry and my debit card under the pretense of using my bathroom. When I pointed out that clearly she knew about the theft and yet said and did nothing, she began crying, arguing that she was in a difficult spot and didn't want to betray her friend. Clearly I didn't qualify as a friend. She confessed that there were multiple others involved in the shopping spree at the mall, including her. She seemed to be quite content to participate in racking up charges on my checking account along with her friend, despite claiming she hadn't stolen from me. I was honestly devastated by the near loss of sentimental pieces of jewelry, which I felt incredibly fortunate to have back. This made it easy for me to shut down her attempts at emotional manipulation. I made it clear in no uncertain terms that as far as I was concerned, whatever happened next was up to them and that I had no problem seeing them all charged with felony robbery. 2 of the 4 involved were 17, but the others were 18, so felony charges could have been a pretty big deal. I demanded all the names, and the parents' contact info, and made it clear that if I didn't get it, I was going to the police. I called the parents and informed them of what their little angels had done. I also informed the parents that I would provide their children with the opportunity to repay the full balance of what they charged on my checking account plus overdraft fees. I made it clear that this was a time-sensitive offer that expired with about a week of buffer time in terms of the deadline to file fraud with my bank in case they failed to follow through. Needless to say, the parents were horrified by the behavior and extremely grateful for my offer. It was quite satisfying to know that the 4 of them had to get jobs and work long hours over the next few weeks in order to pay me back. At one point, my former friend tried to question me about the amount they owed, claiming it seemed like way more than what they spent and not fair. I took great pleasure in explaining how they racked up overdraft fees that the bank refused to reverse unless I filed fraud claims. Their little shopping spree had cost them about 3-4x what it would have if they'd just used their own money. My former friend also tried to ask for more time and insisted it was too hard to pay me back in such a short period of time. I took great pleasure in asking her point blank why I should trust them or take any risk on, given their recent actions. That shut her up pretty quickly. Ultimately, I received all my jewelry back and was repaid for all the charges plus overdraft fees. I never spoke to any of them again. Stories number 26. If I asked my mom to put a diaper on my sister. My 14F family just moved into a new house. We are still getting settled in and we only have 2 beds right now, so me and my little sister 7F are sharing one in my room. But there's a problem: my little sister wets the bed every night and it's really annoying having to wake up in her pee every morning, and my room is starting to smell really bad. I know it's not her fault, she's just doing it while asleep and doesn't mean to annoy me, but it's still really annoying waking up to find out I got peed on every morning. I want to ask my mom to put her in diapers at night so she doesn't pee on me anymore, but I'm worried that would be an thing for me to do because I'm the reason we had to move. I'm gonna start high school in the fall and our neighborhood high school that I would have gone to is a really bad school. My parents say the teachers are bad and kids get bullied and there's drug dealers all over the school. We had to move to get me into a much better school. If I tried to ask my mom for a favor right now, I think it would be mean because she and my dad have already done so much for me. And they're both kinda stressed out right now cause of the move and stuff, and I don't want to be a jerk and add to that. Okay everyone, I want to say thanks so much for helping me understand it's not my fault we moved. I know my parents did it because they want what's best for me and I was feeling guilty about that, but I shouldn't. I know it's a good thing and my sister will get to go to a better high school to cause of it. Just wanna say thanks to everyone who said it wasn't my fault because you all really helped me. I'm gonna ask my parents about getting some pull-ups for my sister. Someone talked about things called goodnights and I think they would be great for my sister to wear. Stories number 27. Aita for avoiding my dad's side of the family because all they want to do is lecture me for not accepting my stepmom as my mom. My dad's side of the family started lecturing me a couple of years ago for keeping my stepmom in the not my mom zone, which is what one of dad's sisters called it. My dad and stepmom got married when I was 6 and I struggled with it a lot at the time, which is something dad's family all bring up when they start this shit. My mom had been dead for only a year at the time, and even though he and my mom were separated when it happened, I wasn't fully adjusted to that before she died, so adjusting to dad finding someone else and marrying her was a lot. My stepmom and I have an okay relationship. It's better than it used to be but still isn't perfect either. And my dad's family have apparently always hated that she has wanted to be my mom since she met me, and I still call her by her first name and only title her as stepmom. 2 years ago is when dad's family started saying this stuff to me. They asked me who was there when I got my appendix taken out, or who was there to see me start high school, who did all this other stuff. And when I asked them questions back like who stayed in the hospital with me for 6 weeks when I was a baby because I had bad breathing issues, who fought doctors until I was diagnosed with asthma, and who was there on my first day of school and stayed in the car for the first 3 weeks because I didn't want to be there, they always got annoyed with me. They said I made it sound like my stepmom's actions mattered less and that I always had to bring it back to mom. I told them the way they talk it made it sound like my mom was a deadbeat before she died and my stepmom was the only mom I ever had. Which made them bring up the fact my stepmom has been in my life longer than my mom was. They told me that my stepmom doesn't feel like she compares to my mom and that she will never be chosen by me. I told them most kids would say their stepparents don't compare to their parents unless their parents are crappy. And that you don't replace people because they die. They said at 5 years old you need a replacement figure for a dead parent, and I asked them who my new dad would have been if dad had died. They told me to stop bringing up pointless topics, and I said that it wasn't pointless since they said you need to replace a dead parent if a kid is 5, so who would they have wanted to take dad's place? I thought when I said that last year it ended, but no, they just keep bringing it up. They have lectured me on what will happen in 20 years when I have kids and my stepmom won't be their grandma because she's tired of being unaccepted in her true role. They lectured me when I asked who said she'd be my kid's grandma anyway. My potential wedding was another lecture in what would she be and would I really not make her mother of the groom. They also threw in stuff about my half-siblings being confused by me calling their mom something different and lecturing me when I said it wasn't my problem. My dad didn't want to stand with me and tell his family to stop because he wants me to acknowledge his wife as my mom, but he doesn't want to tell me because he knows I won't. And my stepmom and I have talked about how she wants that before, so she won't tell them to knock it off either. I turned 17 last month and I decided I was just going to avoid dad's family. I don't go to dinners, parties, BBQs or anything with that side of the family. Dad and I argued over it, but I told him all they want to do is lecture me. He tried to say it wasn't true but couldn't remember one time in the last 2 years where it didn't happen. I don't answer phone calls or respond to texts from them either, and I have like 17 DMs from different family members on that side that I left unread. The DMs and texts are getting more angry, and it made my stepmom angry too because she said I was wasting precious time with people who love me. And she takes it as an insult toward her that I would rather avoid my family than accept what they say about our relationship. She tried not to show how she felt, but it was pretty obvious her anger mostly came from the reason I avoid dad's side than the fact I'm avoiding dad's side. Stories number 28. Aita for apologizing to the server for my husband's behavior and not being on his side. For context, we're on day 2 of a beach vacation with our toddler. We're getting dinner on the boardwalk. We're seated at our table and nobody came to us for a good 15 minutes. Mind you, it's 9 p.m. and we have a ticking time bomb toddler. Both of us are itching to get in and out. Luckily, the place seemed pretty empty. Our server finally takes our drink and food order. At one point, she comes to the table to apologize to my husband. I accidentally charged you extra for your beer, there's a special running, so she should have used the special price, a $2 difference. She asks, would you like me to fix it? We're stunned at her question. What customer wouldn't want the correct price? He jokingly asks for a free beer, to which she said, "I wish I could." They agree for her to change the price of his second beer to be $2 cheaper. Next, our food comes out. His is an entree with sides. Turns out, his vegetables are ice cold. The entree was lukewarm, but I felt the veggies and they seemed to have come directly from the fridge. A shitty restaurant mistake, but a mistake. Vegetables. To summarize, our server, a young 20-something female, has to hear him upset about the cold food. Multiple times he asks her, feel the food, feel it, to prove it's cold. It was fridge cold. I can see she's uncomfortable as he repeatedly says this, the food is cold. He's not paying for anything. He doesn't yell, but he's a large, tall man with a deep voice. If I were her, I might uncomfortable, threatened, or that there is the potential for escalation. Also, it was the kitchen's fault, not hers, that the vegetables are cold. I keep telling her she doesn't have to feel the vegetables. She offers him another meal and he says he doesn't want anything. He added a comment related to her asking if he wanted the $2 beer overcharge fixed. She could be new or she could be bad at her job. Aita for apologizing to her, saying we will pay for the rest and leave, and not agreeing with him we should get it all free. I was thoroughly embarrassed by his response. His demeanor was inappropriate and unwarranted for cold vegetables, bad service, wait time, and poor server practice, the wrong beer charge. I feel he lost all credibility when he continued to ask for it all free and came across angry and wasn't reading how upset the girl was. He wasn't mean or cussing, but he gave off angry vibes. Aita because I got the baby and told him we're leaving, and hurriedly walked away, and left him to get the beach wagon while I just kept walking down the boardwalk. He caught up to me a few minutes later. Overall, I'm mad at his response and his demeanor because he made the poor girl cry, shame on him, and acted entitled. And, he doesn't feel bad about it. He's mad I wasn't on his side and I was too nice, telling them we'd pay for the rest and go. Should I have backed him? Stories number 29. My boyfriend slipped his penis into me when I was asleep and I freaked out. My boyfriend and I have been together for 4 years now and we've never had any issues with our sexual pleasures until last night. We have sex a few times a week, but this week I expressed to him that I don't want to have sex because I got my wisdom teeth out on Tuesday and just haven't been in the mood for it. He said that was okay and that he would be patient. However, he was begging me to have sex last night and I told him no, but I would give him a handjob if he really needed something. He politely declined my offer and we watched a movie and went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night to him putting his penis in my vagina and I freaked out on him. I asked him what he was doing and he apologized and said he couldn't control himself. This made me feel a completely different way about him and I'm not sure if I'm overreacting or if I'm valid with my feelings. How should I go about this now? Edit. I am 22 years old and he is 25. I am taking painkillers so I believe he thought I'd be too tired to say something. Update. I do not want to talk to him about mending the relationship and I broke it off with him. I will not be speaking to him anymore. My mom is taking me to the house while he's at work to get my stuff and to move out. I am beyond heartbroken that someone I loved so much and someone I thought loved me just as much could do something like that. I will speak to a therapist and work through it. I don't think I will be pressing charges as of right now, but I did get him to confess to it over text if I decide I want to press charges in the future. Thanks again for the advice. Stories number 30. I, 29F, can't shake the feeling that my perfect husband, 29M, is cheating on me, and very good at hiding it. So, my husband and I have pretty much a storybook fairy tale marriage. High school sweethearts from 2011 until now. So, 14 years together, married 7. He was my first kiss, my first everything. I was his first, everything other than kiss. He only kissed 1 to 2 girls before me, nothing more. We have 2 beautiful daughters now. They are 2, and 9mo. We have great communication skills and have gotten through pretty much every problem we've ever had, with no big fights. He's pretty perfect. Doesn't watch or look at females online, helps with kids and house and cooking, as he's supposed to, works hard for our family. His only faults really are that he's on his phone a lot and plays video games most nights until 2 a.m. But I can't shake this feeling that it's all too good to be true. I've already talked to him about this. He assures me he's not like other guys, our relationship is special, and I'm the only one for him. Ever. Period. My dumb brain just thinks, yeah, that's what every man would say. I'm going through a big period of insecurity ATM with being postpartum 2 kids in 2 years. I think social media is making me feel ugly and insecure as well. Reading Reddit cheating stories probably doesn't help. But I also don't want to live with rose-colored glasses on. I've always had this voice in the back of my head that tells me, keep on your guard, you never know if it'll happen to you. I have this terrible anxiety and fear of betrayal. I love this man so much. We are soulmates and best friends. So, how do I shake this? Have any women older than me been in this headspace before that can offer advice? Is it hormones? Do I need to see a shrink? LOL. And if you're a man, is the perfect man really out there and I have him? Have you been in a relationship like this and what did you do to ease your wife's mind? Please be gentle with me, I'm just a woman trying to do her best out here, and I don't want to sabotage my relationship with this line of thinking. Stories number 31. Aita for wanting nothing to do with my kids and ex-wife after 2 years of false allegations. Hold on because this is a doozy. I'm going to omit some details to help keep myself from getting doxxed about this whole thing. Last year my kids, 9F and 7M, ran away late at night early in the morning. When found by some city officials, they claimed I kicked them out of the house. I woke up the morning of to the cops and CPS knocking on the door. I told my side of the story from what I knew and they had my, now ex-wife tell her side while keeping us separated. The cops claim our stories don't match and end up arresting me. I bail myself out that same day and go live with my parents for a while. I'm dealing with court, scared that I'm going back to jail or prison and that I'll lose my job that I had only been at for a year. A little over a month goes by and I get a phone call to have a meeting with the CPS woman in charge of our case. My daughter ended up making more allegations against me that did not make any sense to the CPS people, and when they asked her questions, she was unable to give them answers. My son ended up breaking first and admitting the whole thing was made up and that my daughter was the one to orchestrate everything. This reveal led to the charges being dropped and my daughter getting counseling and psychiatric help. For a while I thought things were good. We were on our way to fix things. I kept trying to get all of us into therapy, both individually and family. I was already in therapy due to this whole situation anyway. My ex kept dragging her feet and it never went anywhere. After some other situations with being displaced due to a natural disaster and me trying to get things packed up in our old apartment, I get told by my ex she wants a divorce, so now I'm having to rush and try to find a place to live, which I did luckily. I actually move in tomorrow. On the 14th of June I get served an emergency protection order by the county sheriff's office. I'm told it's because I allegedly hit my son and gave him a concussion while in the grocery store, where there are cameras. He had been taken to the emergency room by my ex on the 14th, but this event allegedly happened on the 10th. I had told my ex that due to me having to get this house to rent, along with utilities in my name, adding up to over $2,000, that I wasn't going to be able to pay certain bills this month, but that I'll get them caught up as soon as I can to get everything paid off and even. I signed for the deposit on the 11th and the kids had been with her while I did this paperwork and there was no issue. On the same morning I had taken my kids to the park so they could play and recorded videos of them being silly and having fun. I was talking to my therapist this week and I told her what was going on and how I felt about being around my ex or the children. It's 2 years in a row of false allegations. I want nothing to do with any of them now. I'll pay child support gladly. I had an agreement with my ex before this all happened of paying $1,000 a month, $500 per paycheck, for child support. After all of this, Aita for not wanting to be around the children and my ex after everything gets settled and found out to be lies again. Update, Aita for wanting nothing to do with my kids and ex-wife after 2 years of false allegations. When I first posted this I was not in a good headspace and I realized that I wasn't very clear. To be honest, I'm still not in a good headspace, but it's a little bit better. For starters, these false allegations started last year when my kids were 9 and 7. When I said 2 years I meant calendar years. When I said I spoke to the police about my side of the story last year, I meant what happened the night before the police and CPS showed up at the front door. I had gotten home, spent some time with the kids and my ex, then wife, before giving the kids their melatonin gummies. This was done on an as-needed basis, mainly 2 to 3 times a week at most. After that I went and took a shower, made myself some dinner, then ate and cleaned up the kitchen before spending more time with my then wife before we both went to bed. Due to a contraction happening when she was being given the epidural, she sleeps better propped up, so she slept on the couch while myself and the kids slept upstairs. The next morning is when I woke up to the cops at the door with CPS. I was charged with child abandonment and arrested. It took over a month for the truth to come out about my kids making this up due to the fact my daughter was saying I was having sex with her. The CPS agent conducting the investigation tried to ask more details and that's when my daughter started crying and admitted she made it up because she couldn't give details. The only reason my daughter even knew what sex was is because my ex and I were in the bedroom and we both thought the other locked the door and my daughter walked in on us. Moving to now, I don't know how my son got this supposed concussion. We had court again on Monday, the 21st, and when the judge asked her she told him that, after talking with the state trooper, we have decided to not press criminal charges. I asked the judge if there was any evidence that they had about what they're claiming I did and he told me that since no charges were filed, there's no evidence gathered to give to me. I want to thank everyone for their answers on my last post. Thinking about those feelings was making me sick to my stomach and I just needed some perspectives from people who weren't emotionally involved. I thought about this since last month and I made the decision to tell the judge I want the divorce process and this EPO to be over and done with and that I just want to be left alone. I'm still questioning if this was the right decision or not. I'm just not sure what else I could do. I work 12-hour days 5 to 6 days a week. I have no way to take care of the kids so I can't take them in. Even then, am I supposed to get to the point where the court system says supervised visits aren't needed anymore and just start wearing a body camera around the kids and just be scared all the time? Looking over my shoulder constantly just to make sure that I'm not going to end up in jail again. We have a hearing set up for December to hopefully get everything finalized and finished. I keep thinking about the kids going trick-or-treating in 3 months, going back to school next month, how we won't be decorating Christmas trees together or making cookies for Santa, and I start crying all over again. I'm not sure what else I could have done though that wouldn't have made me a paranoid mess 24/7. This will be the last update until December or January, I guess. Thank you again for everyone saying I wasn't an asshole for feeling this way. Have a good one. Stories number 32. I knew something went wrong. Back in 2013 I went to my local woman's clinic to get a Mirena IUD. It hurt like crazy, as expected, but I swear, I don't think the person who placed it had ever done one before. During the placement I vomited and passed out. I had some of the worst cramps of my life for a week after. After it was placed I bled for 7 months, and when I called to ask about that, I was told it was normal. I could feel the IUD tugging every time I had sex. I was told that wasn't possible. When I got that IUD out, 6 years later, it was excruciatingly painful again. I vomited, I passed out. At the same appointment I had a new IUD put in. It hurt, but I didn't vomit or pass out for that part of that appointment. I had bad cramps that Advil only touched, but they only lasted the day. Once the new IUD, sex was much better. Just like something changed overnight. No tugging, no pain. When I had the replacement IUD taken out I had no issues. It was uncomfortable but nothing bad. Guess who is trying to have kids now and got a saline ultrasound today? Guess who has scar tissue that can lessen my ability to get pregnant by 50%? Guess who had an IUD embed into my fucking uterus? Guess who insisted to multiple, female by the way, doctors that something was wrong and I was told that was all normal? Guess who gets to have a surgery to have the scar tissue removed? Me, that's fucking who. I'm really fucking pissed off. Stories number 33. AITJ for not inviting my sister to my wedding after she ruined my engagement party. So I'm, 26F, getting married in September and my sister Emma, 24F, has been acting weird about it since I got engaged last year. At my engagement party in March, she showed up in this white dress that looked like a wedding dress and made this toast about how some people rush into things, and how she hopes I know what I'm doing. Everyone was super uncomfortable and my fiancé Jake was pissed. She also kept telling people about her own boyfriend problems all night like it was her event or something. Now I'm planning the wedding and I decided not to invite her. My parents are freaking out saying I'm being dramatic and that family is family. But honestly I don't want her there making it about herself again. My mom keeps calling me crying about how I'm tearing the family apart and my dad won't even talk to me. Jake supports my decision but some of my friends think I should just invite her and ignore whatever she does. I'm starting to second guess myself because maybe I am being too harsh. But I just want one day where it's actually about me and Jake. TLDR, sister wore white to my engagement party and made it about herself, so I'm not inviting her to my wedding. Family thinks I'm wrong. Stories number 34. I told my dad I don't want to walk down the aisle with him because he missed all the parts of my life that mattered. I'm getting married next year. People keep asking if my dad is going to walk me down the aisle. The truth is, I told him no, he wasn't abusive. He wasn't cruel. But he was never there. Birthday parties. Missed them. School plays. Didn't show up. When I had my first panic attack at 15, it was my mom who drove me to the ER while he was out drinking with coworkers. When I moved into my first apartment, he texted, "Congrats, that's it." He never visited. Now that I'm engaged and planning a wedding, suddenly he's calling me. Offering to help. Telling relatives how proud he is. And maybe I should just let him have this moment, but I can't. I told him I'd be walking alone. He sounded so hurt. He said, "I thought you'd forgive me by now." And I just said, "Forgiveness doesn't mean I pretend you were there." Now the guilt is eating me alive. Everyone keeps saying he's trying, that he's older now, but I'm tired of people caring about his feelings more than they cared about mine when I was growing up. Stories number 35. AITA for telling my husband to stop sharing everything about our life with his mother. I 30F have been married to my husband 33M for 4 years. I love him, but one issue keeps causing tension. He tells his mom everything. I mean everything. If we have a disagreement, she hears about it. If we're planning something, she hears before it's even finalized. If I get a bonus at work, she somehow knows the number. It's not just annoying, it feels like a total invasion of privacy. His mom has even brought up personal things during family gatherings that I never expected anyone else to know. She once made a joke about a private disagreement we had, and I was humiliated. I have told him multiple times that I want some boundaries. That our marriage should be between us, not him and his mom as a team. He says I'm overreacting and that he just likes to vent to someone. Last night, I found out she knew about a health issue I hadn't even told my own family yet. I confronted him and said I'm done being okay with this if he can't stop running to her with every detail of our lives, maybe he is not mature enough for marriage. He got super defensive and said I was trying to isolate him from his mom. Now I'm wondering AITA. Stories number 36. I accidentally exposed my friend's fiancé as a cheater and now everyone blames me. This happened over the weekend and I still feel like I'm going to throw up thinking about it. My friend Emily, 31F, is engaged to a guy none of us really liked, but we tried to be supportive. Let's call him Jason. I, 30F, went to a bar with some coworkers Friday night and saw Jason full on making out with another woman at the back booth. I froze, took a photo. I didn't even want to. I just panicked. I sat on it all night. Didn't sleep. Saturday morning I sent the photo to Emily. I didn't say anything dramatic, just, "I saw Jason last night and thought you should know." She didn't reply. But her sister did. And boy, did she go off. Said I was trying to ruin the wedding, that people make mistakes, and maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Now people in our group are accusing me of blowing things out of proportion, causing drama, and jeopardizing a future marriage. Jason hasn't denied it. But somehow I've become the villain for not pretending I didn't see it. I don't even know if Emily is mad at me or grateful. I feel sick. Why is it always the messenger that gets burned? Stories number 37. Aita for stealing my Stanley back from a coworker. No, I am not one of those overconsumers that has 30 Stanleys in every color. I love to hydrate myself, and my mom got me this beautiful, turquoise Stanley for Christmas. I was in love with it. It kept my water cold, was easy for me to carry around, and since my mom lives 6 hours away, it was a nice reminder to have. Turquoise has been my obsession since I was a toddler, and it was the perfect shade. However, I have this coworker, let's call her Miranda. She tries to compete with me for everything. I do not compete with her back, because she is weird AF. I try to act like I barely know her, but she gets angry if I do something better than her. She will also copy my outfits, make sure to get the same color phone case as me, copied my hairstyle, and set up her office desk the same as mine too. She also tries putting me down in front of other coworkers, and makes disrespectful comments about my clothes, my body, my hair, you name it. She has tried getting me fired multiple times, claiming I was being rude to her and causing her emotional distress, but I barely said a word to her. At a gathering, she kept trying to talk to my husband, and would insult me to his face, make up embarrassing stories about me, and telling him he deserved better. One day, as I'm coming home from work, I notice I didn't have my Stanley. I assumed I just forgot it at home, but it wasn't there. I thought I left it at my office, but it wasn't there when I went back the next day. Unusually, Miranda started being extra nice. She would agree with other compliment I got, and even told me my makeup looked good and that my outfit was cute. Thanks I guess. Over the next few days, I am stressed because it was my favorite Stanley and I didn't want to let down my mom. I noticed that Miranda moved desks, because before, her office was fairly close to mine, but I had no clue where she moved. That was until I went down for lunch, and see that bitch holding my water bottle. She also added this stupid backpack to it and a few other things. I overheard her saying her floor number from the elevator, and decided to make my move. I know Miranda likes to have lunch a bit later than usual. At 3 o'clock, that's when I headed to her floor. Bingo, her desk was empty, and my precious Stanley was fucking customized in bullshit. I snatched that thing and ran. I went home early, and on my Stanley, she had her AirPods, which she bought a week after I mentioned I needed new ones, an unopened Summer Fridays lip balm, and a mini perfume, which is the one I used to wear. I'm sorry, but that's my Stanley, and it's your fault for putting your stuff on my belongings. She isn't getting them back. I feel awful, because those AirPods and perfume were expensive as hell, but that's your fault and you can pay the price. My mom and husband thinks she deserves it, but my sister says I should leave the AirPods, lip balm and perfume on her desk when she's not looking. I mean, maybe she consider not stealing others' belongings, because karma will come back to her. Edit. Her AirPods were dead thankfully so she can't track them. I think I am going to find a way to anonymously give them back, because those are expensive, but the Summer Fridays and mini perfume can be her reminder to never steal. Edit 2. I am going to go to HR with her items and explain the situation. I think this is the best approach, and as much as she deserves to have her AirPods and stuff stolen, it'll take her job away from her instead. Update. I went to HR and explained my situation. I said it as nicely as possible, and asked them to pull up footage of her snatching it from my desk. Luckily, they were not happy. Many other had complaints about her too, saying she would close tabs on other people's laptops, and would be extremely rude to other coworkers. She ended up getting fired, and broke down crying when she got confronted. Edit 3. Some of you guys thought I intentionally stole her AirPods, perfume and Summer Fridays, but it was inside one of those little Stanley backpacks she added to my water bottle. I could not see what was inside at first. The backpack was hard to take off, so I left it on and ran away as fast as I could before she caught me and could gaslight me into saying it was her Stanley. Stories number 38. A rant about comments from men romanticizing how Sharon Osbourne was a saint for putting up with Ozzy. So I was just watching a video about their wedding and Sharon talks about how he didn't get out the car to read the vows because he was too high, he doesn't remember any of the wedding because he was too high, he was hardly seen at the reception, and he passed out in the hallway of the hotel and left her alone on their wedding night. Now, whatever Sharon has done wrong in the marriage, I'm not that invested and no one was commenting about that. So that's irrelevant in this case before anyone starts bringing up whatever she might have done. This is about the treatment of women and attitude towards wives in general. The comments were just full of men saying, they don't make wives like that anymore, what a saint, I hope I can find a woman like that, where are the ride or die wives like Sharon? It's genuinely so sad that men don't watch this and think wow that's so sad for her, she didn't deserve to put up with that all her life. Or why didn't she leave? No, they are so entitled they think women have the duty or obligation to just deal with men's neglect. I'm sure if it was their daughter's wedding and their son-in-law didn't turn up to the altar they wouldn't be so dismissive towards women. But if you challenge them they start being obtuse and saying it's neglect to leave your partner because they're going through a mental health issue or something. No, there's a limit where women should stop being a doormat for men who aren't going to give the woman a life she deserves. Stories number 39. Aita for refusing to attend my twin sister's wedding because she's marrying my ex. So yeah, the title kinda says it all, but here we go. I, 27F, have a twin sister, Maya. We've always been close but also very different. She's always been the outgoing, bubbly one, while I'm a little more reserved. That's just how it's always been. Anyway, I dated this guy, Evan, for about 2 years. We broke up 3 years ago, no cheating, but it ended badly. He basically told me he felt like I lacked excitement, and that our relationship felt like roommates. It crushed me. Took me over a year to even consider dating again. Fast forward to now, I'm shocked I found out Maya and Evan are engaged. Apparently, they've been seeing each other for a little over a year. Maya claims she didn't plan it, that it just happened. She didn't even tell me lol they waited until they were officially engaged to break the news. I was completely blindsided. I told her I wouldn't be attending the wedding. She got mad and said I was making her special moment about me. Our parents are split. My mom thinks Maya crossed a line, and my dad says I should just be happy for her. But I can't. It feels like a betrayal. Even if I'm over Evan, I feel like Maya should have never gone there. I haven't spoken to her in a month, so. Aita for refusing to attend her wedding? Or am I just holding on to a grudge I should have let go of? Stories number 40. Entitled girl wants her friend to have the plane wait for her. So bear with me, I need to give a little background. Edit. Thanks to all those who pointed out that it is, bear with me, sorry. A couple of years ago my parents got a new summer house in south of Turkey and decided to throw a big New Year's party. So they invited all their friends. But they ended up inviting too many people that I wasn't even allowed a +1. Okay, any big deal. That's life. 31th of December was on Sunday, so the plan was for everyone to get there on Friday night by plane. I took an earlier flight at around 1600 to avoid traffic to reach the airport and the crowds at the airport. It usually takes 30 minutes for me to reach the airport, but I left the office an hour before just to make sure. Anyhow, when I arrived my mom pulled me aside and told me that the daughter of one of the invited families decided to invite her friend without asking anyone. I was pissed as the daughter of the host is not allowed to bring anyone, but someone else just thought it was okay to invite a person that no one ever heard of let alone met. The real kicker starts after this. These two girls, let's call them A for the daughter and D for the unexpected +1, had to take a flight around 2000. But at around 1930 A is calling her mom telling that D is going to miss the flight due to heavy traffic. Her mom is okay, don't panic. You board the plane and D can take the next flight. So far so good. The D calls. She is in full-blown panic mode. Crying and screaming that it is A2's fault that she missed the plane by 15 minutes. I should have made the flight attendants not close the door and make the whole plane wait for her. I was like, is she for real? And yes, she truly believes that A could have the plane wait for her. Upon questioning her a little, I learnt that even though she lives near the metro station that take you directly to the airport, she chooses to take a taxi 45 minutes before boarding time for a trip that usually lasts 1 hour. But she keeps claiming that she should have been able to catch the plane if A made the plane wait for her. When I asked how was she supposed to do that, she said it could have waited by door and not let them close the door. How entitled can you be to think that just because you're terrible to plan ahead on one of the busiest night of the year and left late, not because she was working or anything, she just assumed 45 minutes should be enough. She didn't even check the traffic map or anything, a plane full of people must wait for her. Stories number 41. My fiancé thinks I'm saving for our wedding. I'm actually saving to leave. I, am 29, have been with my fiancé, F28, for 6 years. Everyone thinks we're relationship goals. We've got the social media photos, the mutual friends, the inside jokes. We're supposed to get married next spring, but I'm slowly dying inside. She's not abusive. She's not cruel. But I feel invisible in this relationship. I feel like a prop in the life she wants, not a partner. We talk, but don't really connect. We laugh, but it feels rehearsed. Sex is rare and robotic. I've brought these things up before, and she always says I'm just stressed or looking for problems. So a year ago, I opened a secret account. I started saving money on the side, just a little at first, then more. She thinks it's part of our joint wedding fund. It's not. It's my escape plan. I don't know when I'll do it. Maybe in a month. Maybe the night before the wedding. But I can't live this lie forever. I just hope one day she forgives me for walking away. And I hope I forgive myself too. Stories number 42. Aita for refusing to go to my friend's no phones dinner after what happened last time. My friend hosts these no phones dinners once a month. It's her thing, everyone drops their phone in a basket and just vibes. I respect it, even if I find it a bit much. I've gone to a few and it was fine. The problem is, the last time I went, my sister had an emergency and couldn't reach me for hours. She was dealing with a situation involving our mom who was taken to the hospital. She had no one else to call. I didn't see any of it until the dinner was over, 3 hours later. I left feeling like crap. Now this month, my friend invited me again. I said I'd come but I was keeping my phone on me in case something happened. She got weirdly defensive, saying it defeated the purpose and that everyone needed to be fully present or not come at all. So I said okay, I won't come. Now she's mad and calling me inflexible, saying it's just one night and I'm being dramatic. But I'm not putting myself in that situation again. Aita for skipping it over this. Stories number 43. Aitj for not giving my coworker a ride after she got her license suspended. I, 29F, work with this girl Bethany, 26F, who got her license suspended last month for too many speeding tickets. She lives about 15 minutes from me and asked if I could give her rides to work until she gets it back in 6 months. At first I said yes because I felt bad for her. But it's become a huge pain. She's never ready when I get there, usually making me wait 10 to 15 minutes which makes me late. She doesn't offer gas money even though it adds 30 minutes to my commute each day. And she always wants to stop places on the way home, since we're already out. The final straw was last Friday when she asked if we could pick up her friend Jessica from the airport after work. When I said no because it was completely out of the way, she got mad and said I was being unreasonable since, it's not like I'm asking for much. Yesterday I told her I couldn't give her rides anymore and she would need to find other arrangements. She started crying and said I was abandoning her when she needed help most. Now she's telling everyone at work that I'm selfish and heartless. I feel bad but also like she was taking advantage of me. TLDR. Coworker with suspended license has been taking advantage of my rides to work, told her I can't do it anymore, now she's calling me selfish. Stories number 44. Uncle just passed. Uncle left me with basically everything. Cousins are pissed. My uncle on my mom's side died a wealthy man mostly from single-family rental units. Due to family drama involving drugs my cousins and their father haven't spoken for 25 years. I wasn't really close to them since my family lived on the opposite side of the country. Only ever saw each other on really big occasions, weddings or funerals, that was it. After high school my cousin on my mom's side, not one of said uncle's kids, told me he was opening a restaurant and if I wanted to come work for him, so I move out to Philly where my mom's family is. About a year later my uncle's health was failing and since I now lived in the same city as him I would visit him in the hospital and sit with him as he would tell old stories and I would read him the newspaper. I felt bad none of his kids would visit so I would try to go every morning before my shifts. I didn't do it because I was looking for a payout, I just felt sorry for the guy. He dies and all of his 3 kids are left out of his will. I inherited all his assets, about 1.4 million, mostly in rental properties. As soon as kids learned this they became livid, which I kinda get, but they're saying that my uncle was not of sound mind when he made that decision and are going to get lawyer. I want to end this peacefully with my cousins. I've pretty much made up my mind on splitting some of the money with them. But 2 of them are currently battling drug and alcohol addictions, and the youngest one, well, never properly diagnosed, and I am not a doctor in any way, I am fairly certain he is schizophrenic. I don't just want to give them a lump sum, I just know they'd blow it. What can I do? Location, Pennsylvania. Stories number 45. Aita for pretending not to know my neighbor just to avoid another one of her MLM parties. I moved into this new apartment building a few months ago. Everything's great, except for Tammy. Tammy lives 2 doors down, and she's the kind of person who thinks every casual hi means, yes, I'd love to hear your sales pitch. She sells these natural health gummies that she swears cured her migraines, anxiety, and possibly her credit score. I've already told her twice I'm not interested, but she just smiles like, oh, you will be. I'll save you a sample. Last week, I was walking to my car when I saw her heading toward me holding a flyer and this overly excited, guess what, face. I panicked. I put on my sunglasses, turned away a little, and pretended I was on the phone like, oh hey, Grandma. Yeah, your dog's surgery went well. That's amazing. Tammy walked right past me and didn't say a word. I thought I got away with it until my other neighbor texted me like, Tammy said you totally ignored her today and looked stuck up. Now a couple of people in the building are saying I'm rude and not very community-minded. But like, it's not a party, it's a sales trap with hummus and guilt. I just didn't want to sit through 2 hours of, you too can work from your phone, while pretending her turmeric energy balls didn't taste like drywall. Aita for faking a call to dodge the invite. Stories number 46. I've been running a restaurant out of my house. And haven't paid taxes since 21. I started selling plates of food during the pandemic after I lost my job. This eventually turned into full-blown sit-down restaurant in my backyard. It's been going great. My plan is to open a real restaurant in 2 years. I know I'm an idiot, but in my defense I was 19 when I started this whole adventure and my parents are the most financially illiterate people I know. Love them to death, but my dad is 54 and doesn't even have a credit score. I haven't paid a dime in taxes since 2021. All the money I've made has gone back into my business and in saving for my restaurant. I want to make my business legit and squash any trouble I have with the IRS. Also, the majority of my money is under my mattress, not literally, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's not in a bank account. To answer the question you all must be asking, why the hell didn't I pay taxes? I'm fucking dumb. My neighbor told me all my income would be seized and I'd probably go to jail since what I'm doing is illegal and I'm better off not paying. I'm really just looking for guidance. Who do I need to speak to? Lawyer or an accountant? Is there any truth to what my neighbor is saying? From what I could find on Google, all income no matter how it's made needs to be reported. I really don't want to go to jail. Currently I have $126K saved up. Stories number 47. My younger brother is the only reason I'm still alive, and he has no idea. He's 19, I'm 27. He's funny, bright, reckless in the best way. When we were growing up, he'd always sneak into my room when I was crying after a fight with our dad and just sit beside me in silence. When I left home at 18 and cut ties with our parents, he was the only one who kept in touch. Last year, I hit rock bottom. Depression, job loss, isolation. I wrote a goodbye letter. I had everything planned. Then he called, not to say anything important. Just to tell me a stupid story about a girl he liked and how he dropped a milkshake on her shoes. I laughed harder than I had in months. He said, I miss hearing that sound from you. That call, that dumb, perfectly timed, unfiltered call, saved my life. I never told him. I just started crawling my way back from the darkness after that. But I think about it every single day. One phone call. One moment. It made me stay. He saved me and he doesn't even know it. Stories number 48. Tofu not picking up her signs in Vegas. I am in Vegas for a work conference for 3 days. I met a girl from South Korea in the elevator ride to my room after checking in. I helped her with her bags after I saw her struggle getting them in the elevator to our room. We exchanged WhatsApp contact info and messaged each other throughout the week. She told me she's visiting all the major US cities before she went to South Korea. On the last night, she sends me a sexy picture on WhatsApp telling me I was cute and she was sad I didn't find her attractive. I did not get the vibe she wanted more than friendship from our conversation, but I was wrong. I told her we could meet up downstairs, have a drink and take it from there. She messaged back saying she changed her mind. This isn't the first time I had a girl tell me I missed the signs. TLDR, I have a problem picking up girls' signs they want more than friendship. I didn't pick this South Korean's chick signs, in Vegas. Edit 1, there is an age gap of 9 years. She is in her early 20s and I am in my early 30s. We messaged each other on WhatsApp throughout the days, but I was busy attending a work conference while she had stuff already planned most of the day. I also think some of the flirting via WhatsApp was lost in translation. Overall, my fuck up was counting myself out from the start. Let that be a lesson, kids. I also appreciated everyone sharing their stories, corn, and POVs. Stories number 49. My sister pretended my miscarriage didn't happen so she could announce her pregnancy. I, 27F, had a miscarriage 2 weeks ago. It was early, only 9 weeks, but it was still real. It was still painful. My sister, 30F, knew I told her through tears. She barely responded. This weekend, we had a small family brunch. My parents, she stood up with a surprise and announced that she's pregnant. Everyone clapped. My mom cried. And I just sat there, frozen. She never once acknowledged what I went through. Not even a, I know this is hard for you. She just smiled like she was starring in a Hallmark movie. Later, she texted me that she didn't want to make it about me and that she hopes I'll be happy for her eventually. I don't know if I can. It's not about being jealous. It's about being invisible. Stories number 50. New neighbor called police suspecting we're cooking drugs within days of moving in. My family moved into a new rental at the beginning of July. Less than a week after moving in, a police officer knocked on our door to inform us that our neighbor called the police because she believed we were cooking drugs in our unit. The officer stated that he had dealt with this neighbor several times in the past and he knew we were not engaged in any drug use. Things calmed down for a little, but the other day, my wife said simple hello to the neighbor, who was staring at us as we walked by. The neighbor scoffed and was immediately hostile. This morning, I spotted the neighbor taking photos of our cars. I asked her why she was taking pictures, and she said, "You know why, you're druggies." I mentioned that we are not drug users, and that we have a young daughter and my wife is expecting, to which she responded, "Yes, and I'm going to call Child Protective Services because of that." To be clear, the hardest drugs we have in the house are my wife's antacids for pregnancy-related heartburn or my half-CAF coffee. We do not even drink, let alone do any drugs. My job requires a drug test and background checks, including one from Child Protective Services. I called the non-emergency line for our local PD and an officer responded. He told me they've interacted with this neighbor dozens of times, and that she has some obvious mental health problems. He went to speak with her, but she somewhat quickly left her place out the back door, which I reported to the officer. The officer advised us that, if this continues, to file harassment charges at the local magistrate. I also reached out to our new landlord to ask if there were any incidents with this neighbor in the past. He said no, but that this was a new property they were managing. I provided him with the incident number and the responding officer's email. He advised us to speak with a lawyer about this matter and would support us with the advice of counsel. I am curious what we should do to prepare in this situation. We have never had issues with a neighbor before, especially for something that is completely unfounded. It feels like the local PD understands our situation, but I am still deeply uncertain living next to this person. I also do not want our new landlord to be suspicious of us because of what our mentally ill neighbor suspects. What are recommend next steps from a legal perspective on this matter? TLDR, likely mentally ill neighbor called the cops on us for unfounded drug use. Police have dealt with her multiple times and even suggested harassment charges. Landlord advised speaking with counsel. Stories number 51. Husband going on trip 1 month postpartum and then again when we're all super sick. Am I overreacting? My husband went on a 3-day fishing trip with his brothers and friends 4 weeks after I gave birth to our second baby. Before she was born they kept asking if he's going to go with them and to not be a simp and not go because of me. I was honestly so out of it at that point postpartum and just trying to survive day to day, so I def. He said it was fine because he made his mom and my mom come over to help me, even though he knows my relationship with his mom is strained. We live an hour away from family for context. 7 months later we all got extremely sick. My oldest was in bed with fevers and vomiting constantly, my baby also fevers and myself general aches and fever but a really severe eye infection. I couldn't even open my eyes due to the swelling and leaking. I think he felt a bit guilty but said he couldn't cancel on the boys now and had to go. Just curious if this is something alright or am I being too sensitive by wishing he'd decided to stay with us. I try to never make him feel bad for going out and having bro time in our relationship. He appreciates it a lot but this time it kind of hurt. Stories number 52. I, recently, have HSV1 and I can never kiss, share food, be close with my child ever again and it's making me lose the will to live. This is the heaviest and most stressful thing I deal with in my life. It's never actually been diagnosed because it's always gone within the day, and it's never been a bump or anything open or oozing, so DRS could never test it. It just appears as a red spot. Just red, not raised or anything. And then it's gone the next day. The reasons my symptoms are so mild, almost undetectable. Because I'm already on a daily preventative medication for the HSV-2 I was diagnosed with last year. I kept having this red spot appear when I would start my period, so DRS kicked my dose up to 2x a day. So far, it worked. I haven't had an episode since the dose increase. My doctor told me that as long as I don't have an active outbreak, it should be safe to share food and even kiss my child's cheek. But I don't trust it. Google says any time is a risk. What if I kissed his cheek at 10 a.m. and then I had an episode at 5 p.m.? Was he at risk at 10 a.m.? So I can't risk it, ever. I try not to overthink drinking from a bottle of alcohol with my best friend when I'm not having issues, as it's alcohol and there's no skin contact. And in those moments, my brain reminds me, well, the doctor said it was safe. But that still makes me uncomfortable too. The thing is, I haven't told anyone about this, besides my child's father, for my child's safety. Not even my best friend. That's how ashamed I am. I'm going above and beyond to keep my child safe. I wash my pillowcase's towels every day and never share anything. I wear a face mask to keep my kid from swiping up against me back when I did have the redness, almost 3-year-old, toddler. If anything ever happened to him, I don't know how I'd be able to live with myself. It's the reason I'll never have any more kids, knowing I'll never be able to kiss them. Not even their toes. That they're never really safe around their mom. I cry almost every day about this. I've been dealing with this on my own. It feels so unfair. I just want to live a normal life with my son. I asked my DRS social worker about support groups, but when I checked, it's mostly a dating site for people with this. And the other option is some FB group, but I'm so ashamed to be caught on there. I do plan to go to therapy soon. This is my first time ever talking about this out loud, so if anyone has any words of advice, or similar situations or info for support, please let me know. Stories number 53. Aita for telling my dad not everyone wants to be a great athlete. My 15 dad was a sprinter in high school and college. Best time was 100 m in 11.6 seconds. For context, my country's national record is 10.06. No one from here has broken the 10-second barrier ran sub 10 second yet. He said he only ate healthy food, mainly fish, eggs and vegetables. Told us he didn't have any ice cream or other junk until he was 22, after graduation when he stopped participating. His only snacks back then were fresh fruits. He never tried to make me train and compete, saying I have zero talent. I have to eat the same diet but am okay with that. But my cousin, 14, who has been living with us ever since my aunt passed away, is different. Dad has him on the same training and diet that he used years ago. My cousin talked to me about it, saying it's too much and asking me to talk to my dad. I told him not everyone wants to compete at that level and that he is pushing too far, but my dad just snapped at me, saying he's the guardian and it's not my place to say anything. Stories number 54. Wibta if I contacted my sister-in-law's ex-husband's lawyer. I, 30F, am stuck in the middle of a moral tug-of-war that's been gnawing at me for weeks, and I honestly don't know what the right thing to do is anymore. My sister-in-law, to clarify, she's married to my brother, not my husband's sister, has been putting a disturbing amount of pressure on me lately. It's about her custody case. She's trying to get her sons back. Again, this isn't the first time CPS has taken them away. It's happened multiple times. I've seen the pattern. She cleans up just long enough to put on a good face for court, then things slowly unravel again once the case cools down. The boys, sweet kids, by the way, end up tossed into the middle of this chaotic mess over and over. At first, I tried to be supportive. I really did. I've babysat those kids countless times, dropped everything on short notice to help, missed out on events, work shifts, date nights, all to be there. I was never paid. Never even offered gas money. And when I couldn't drop everything at the snap of her fingers, the passive-aggressive comments would start. Must be nice to have time to relax, or, some of us don't have the luxury to say no. So a few weeks ago, I finally set a boundary. I told her I could no longer be her fallback childcare. I wasn't cruel about it, I simply explained that I needed to prioritize my own time, my marriage, and my mental health. I thought that would be the end of it. Instead, it got worse. Now she's asking me, no, pressuring me, to lie for her in court. She wants me and my husband to follow this rehearsed script to present her as the picture-perfect mom. Except, she's not. And it's not my place to lie under oath to help her win back custody she's lost over and over due to her own choices. She even lied about having subpoenaed me. I found out through a weird series of texts from her that I was expected to attend her custody hearing. When I reached out to her lawyer, he seemed confused. Turns out, she never got a subpoena for me. She just said she did, probably assuming I'd panic and show up regardless. Her lawyer was professional but admitted it would have been illegal to serve a fake subpoena. That's when I started wondering, if she's willing to manipulate me, someone who's helped her so many times, what else is she doing behind the scenes? I've been thinking about contacting her ex-husband's lawyer. I'm not out for revenge, but I feel like someone needs to know what's really going on. She's not being honest with the court. She's trying to build this fantasy image of herself, and dragging everyone around her into the lie, and honestly, I'm scared for those kids. They're the ones stuck in the middle of all this. I spoke to my brother, her husband. At first, I thought maybe he'd agree with me, but instead, he's panicking. He's worried the courts will somehow get involved with his kids too. He's even hinted that if I don't back off, I could make things worse for everyone. He kept repeating what my husband supposedly said, things like, "Your husband's okay with you helping her, right?" Trying to twist it into sounding like my husband had changed his mind or was neutral. But I talked to my husband directly. He's on my side. He's just keeping quiet to avoid drama. Then my brother started getting pushy. Telling me, no one has to know. It's not like the courts will find out if you don't say anything. Like silence is harmless. Like my integrity is a small price to pay for family loyalty. But is it? Is it loyalty when you're expected to lie to the courts? When you're expected to gaslight yourself into believing someone is a fit parent when you've witnessed the neglect firsthand? I feel stuck between two burning buildings. One is labeled, "Protect the Truth." The other says, "Protect the Family." And I know that whichever one I walk into, something will be destroyed. And here's the part that kills me, she doesn't even seem grateful. All those nights I stayed up with her kids. All those last-minute babysitting marathons. The holidays I adjusted. The work I missed. It was never, "Thank you." It was always, "Why didn't you do more?" And now, she expects me to lie under oath for her. I haven't contacted the lawyer yet. I don't even know how I'd start the conversation. "Hi, I'm the sister-in-law of your client's ex. I have concerns." Will they even listen? Or will they think I'm meddling? But part of me believes I owe it to those boys. Because they can't speak for themselves in court. They don't get to explain that their mom leaves them alone for hours while she naps. That they eat cereal for dinner 4 nights a week. That sometimes they cry when it's time to go back home after staying with me. So tell me, would I be the Aholy for stepping in? Or would I be the only adult actually willing to protect these kids from a repeat of the same chaos that's hurt them before? I haven't made my move yet, but every day I sit with this choice, it weighs a little heavier on my chest. And I'm starting to feel like staying silent would make me complicit. TLDR, my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, is trying to manipulate me into lying for her in court to get custody of her kids back, even though she's lost them multiple times. I set boundaries with her after being used for unpaid childcare for years. She lied about subpoenaing me, pressures me to follow a fake script, and is now pushing family to protect her false narrative. I'm considering contacting her ex's lawyer to tell the truth about what I've seen, but I'm torn between doing what's right and being labeled the villain by my own family. Update: things escalated way faster than I expected after I posted. First, I sat down with my husband again to make sure we were 100% aligned, and thankfully, he's still completely on my side. He said that no matter what his brother, my brother, says, we shouldn't be bullied into protecting someone who's clearly manipulating everyone around her. That was reassuring, especially since the pressure from my brother hasn't stopped. The next day, my brother showed up at my house, unannounced. He claimed he just wanted to talk, but it turned into a very tense, borderline threatening conversation. He kept using emotional manipulation, saying things like, "You're going to tear this family apart, and, if my kids get taken, it'll be your fault." I stayed calm, but I didn't budge. I told him flat out that I was not going to lie under oath and that if anyone should be held accountable for potential custody issues, it's his wife, not me. He left pretty angry, and later that night I got a barrage of texts from my SIL. She was furious, calling me a traitor and accusing me of turning my back on family. She even accused me of being jealous because she gets more attention than me at family events, which is, so far from the point, it's honestly laughable. She said she'd never forgive me if I got involved with her ex's legal team. I didn't even respond. Then came the guilt trip texts from my parents. They're old school, very, keep the family together no matter what, types, and they urged me to let this go and not get involved any further. They even said something about how it's not my place to meddle in their divorce and that I should just pray for them instead. I told them the truth: if no one stands up and tells the court what's really going on, those kids might end up back in a harmful situation. I'm not going to stand by and watch that happen just to keep the peace at Sunday dinners. My husband thinks I should still reach out to her ex's attorney, and I'm leaning that way. The lawyer already knows my SIL has a pattern of manipulation, lying about subpoenas, using people, pushing others to fabricate things in her favor. I think hearing from someone who has first-hand experience with her behavior, especially someone like me who used to help her all the time, might matter. What's really eating at me is the kids. They're young. They've already been removed from her care multiple times. They don't have a voice in this. If everyone in our family is too afraid of upsetting her or choosing sides, they'll get hurt the most. And while my brother's worried about his kids being taken too, maybe this is the wake-up call he needs to protect them better instead of enabling his wife. I haven't contacted the ex's lawyer yet, but I did speak with my own legal counsel just to make sure I'm protected. I don't want this to come back to bite me, but I also can't stay quiet. I'm gathering every text, every message, every instance I was asked to lie or manipulate the truth. If I go forward, I want to do it the right way. For now, I'm limiting contact with both my brother and SIL. I'm tired of being used, and I refuse to be their pawn in this custody game. I'm prioritizing what's best for the kids, not what keeps the family superficially happy. This still isn't over, but I'm done second-guessing myself. TLDR, my manipulative sister-in-law pressured me to lie in court to help her get custody back. After I refused, she and my brother tried to emotionally guilt me. I'm now seriously considering contacting her ex's lawyer to tell the truth, even though the rest of the family wants me to stay quiet. My husband supports me, and I've talked to my own lawyer. I'm collecting evidence before making my move, prioritizing the kids over family drama. Final update. It's done. I decided to move forward and speak with my SIL's ex-husband's attorney. It wasn't an easy decision, and it took me a few sleepless nights to get there. I wrestled with the guilt, the potential fallout with my family, and the emotional weight of knowing this might permanently shift the dynamic between me and my brother. But at the end of the day, I couldn't ignore the bigger picture, the safety and well-being of those kids. I met with the attorney privately. I brought screenshots of texts, emails, even recordings where my SIL and my brother talked about lying to the court and manipulating CPS. The lawyer was incredibly grateful and said my testimony could be pivotal. They didn't promise anything, but they assured me it would help the judge see the full picture. I haven't told my brother I went through with it. But I think he knows. He stopped reaching out. No more texts, no calls. My parents found out and are disappointed, to say the least. They say they understand my intentions, but they've made it clear I've caused a divide in the family. I tried to explain that I did this for the kids, but they're stuck on the idea that I betrayed my own blood. I've accepted that we may never see eye to eye. My SIL, unsurprisingly, went nuclear. I've been blocked on everything, and apparently she's telling everyone in the extended family that I'm a snake and jealous of her happiness. I can live with that. Her version of happiness is built on lies and control, and I'm done playing along. My husband has been my rock through all this. He's proud of me for standing my ground, even when it hurt. We've decided to take a step back from the entire family for a while, no events, no dinners, no drama. I'm focusing on my own peace now. And most importantly, I know I did the right thing. I told the truth when it mattered most. I don't know what the judge will decide. But I know that if those kids are kept in a safe, stable environment, I'll have done my part. No regrets. Just relief. TLDR, I testified for my manipulative SIL's ex-husband after she pressured me to lie in her custody battle. My brother and family are upset, and I'm now being blamed for dividing the family. But I told the truth, submitted proof, and finally stepped away from their toxic drama. I did it for the kids, and despite the fallout, I feel at peace. Stories number 55. My wife humiliated me in front of my loved ones, and years later, I still can't let it go. I, 32M, have been with my wife, 31F, for a decade, 4 of those years married. For most of that time, we were inseparable. We were best friends before we were lovers. The kind of couple who could stay up talking all night, laugh at the same dumb memes, and finish each other's sentences. She was my person. 3 years ago, we welcomed our first child into the world. I remember the moment vividly, holding our baby in my arms, completely in awe of this tiny human. But right after the birth, things changed. And I mean quickly. She spiraled into what we later learned was postpartum depression. I knew it existed, I'd read about it, but living through it, nothing could prepare me. She became distant. Irritable. Cold, even. It felt like someone had flipped a switch and swapped out the woman I loved with a stranger. She began lashing out. At first it was subtle, frustration at the way I folded the baby clothes, or forgetting to bring her water during a late-night feed. But it escalated into more personal attacks. She started making cruel remarks about my body, particularly my manhood. I'm tall, 6 feet 4 inches, but yeah, I'm not exactly well endowed. It's something I've always been a little self-conscious about, but I never thought I'd hear it weaponized. Not by her. I told myself she didn't mean it. That it was the depression talking. That I needed to be strong for both of us. But then came the night I'll never forget. We were having a small dinner at home with my sister and my best friend, who's more like a sister to me than just a friend. We were eating, laughing, just enjoying a rare moment of normalcy. And out of nowhere, my wife made a crude, explicit joke about my size. Loudly. Casually. Like it was funny. I froze. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My sister tried to play it off with a forced chuckle, and my friend just went dead silent. The room got ice cold. I smiled awkwardly. But inside, I was wrecked. The second they left, I went upstairs, shut the door, and cried harder than I had since I was 13. That night cracked something open in me. The shame, the helplessness, it swallowed me whole. The next morning, she found me sitting on the edge of the bed, still quiet. She looked shaken. She said seeing me cry broke her. She scheduled an appointment, got evaluated, and was officially diagnosed with postpartum depression. She started medication and therapy almost immediately. She apologized. A lot. She wept and said she didn't even recognize the person she had been. She said it felt like she'd been possessed. And you know what? I believed her. I forgave her. Because I saw her trying. And I loved her. Since then, life has returned to something resembling normal. She's an incredible mom. Our son adores her. She supports me, helps with the house, encourages my goals. She's back to being the woman I fell in love with. But something inside me still hasn't healed. Every time I look at her, I remember that night. Every now and then, that moment replays in my head on a loop. Her words. My friend's shocked expression. My sister avoiding eye contact. And me, sitting in silence, exposed, and ashamed in my own home. I've told her this. I've tried to be honest. She always apologizes, sometimes cries. She even suggested we do couples therapy. But I told her she was the one who needed therapy, not me. After all, I was the one who got hurt. I was the one who never lashed out. But now, I wonder if that's really true. Because last night, I finally admitted something I've been scared to even think. I told her I've been thinking, not planning, but thinking, about divorce. I told her I wasn't sure what the future held, but the thought of separation crept into my head more and more often lately. She panicked. I could see her hands trembling. She sat down on the couch, breathing fast like she couldn't take it in. I had to hold her hands and tell her it was just something floating in my head, not a decision. But even saying that felt like a lie, because honestly, I don't know if I'll ever truly get over it. She begged me to give her another chance. Said she wants to keep fighting for us. She even offered to go to therapy together, again. But all I could think was, do I still feel safe with her? Can you really be vulnerable again with someone who once used your greatest insecurity as a punchline? We've built a beautiful family. And yet part of me feels like I'm standing on the edge of something that can't be fixed, like no matter how many apologies are given, the scar is still there. I haven't made a decision. But I'm tired of pretending everything's fine just because the storm passed. Because for me, the damage was done. And no amount of good days can erase the night she broke me. TLDR. My wife and I were happy until she developed severe postpartum depression after our baby was born. During that time, she insulted my manhood repeatedly and eventually made a humiliating joke about it in front of my sister and best friend. Though she got diagnosed, treated, and has since become a loving partner and mother, I haven't been able to move past that night. I still feel humiliated and broken by it, and now years later, I'm quietly considering divorce, even though I still love her and she's trying to make things right. Update. After that conversation, things in our home changed. It wasn't hostile or explosive, but it was tense. There was a quiet sadness that lingered in every room. My wife started walking on eggshells around me, constantly checking in, asking if I was okay, if I needed space, if I still loved her. She's trying, I can see that. She started therapy again on her own. This time, she didn't just go for postpartum depression. She's diving deeper, working through things from her past, her insecurities, her patterns of lashing out when she's scared or overwhelmed. She leaves her therapy sessions visibly drained but tells me she wants to do the work, not just for our marriage, but because she realizes she hurt the one person who always stood by her. One night a few weeks ago, I came home late from work. She had cleaned the house, put the baby to sleep, and had dinner waiting. She sat across from me at the table and said, "I know I can't undo what I said, and maybe I don't deserve you to stay. But I want to be better, even if we don't make it. Because you showed me what real love looks like, and I want to be worthy of that again." I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, staring at her, wondering how the woman who once made me feel so small could now be this vulnerable. But here's the thing, I'm still not okay. I think that night, when she humiliated me, something inside me cracked. Not just because of the joke, but because for the first time in our relationship, I didn't feel safe with her. I didn't feel protected or valued. And that feeling has stayed with me like a splinter I can't get out. I've started seeing a therapist myself. I didn't tell her right away because I didn't want her to think I was doing it for her. I needed to understand my own trauma, my own grief. And what I've learned is that forgiveness doesn't always mean healing. I forgave her, but I never healed. The therapist said something that stuck with me: you're allowed to grieve the relationship you thought you had. Sometimes grief comes even when you're still together. And that's exactly how it feels. Like I'm mourning the person I used to be with. The trust one used to have. Sometimes I look at her and I see the woman I fell in love with, the one who stood by me through my father's death, who held me when I got rejected from my dream job, who kissed my forehead when I had panic attacks. But other times, I see the version of her who cut me down with one careless comment and made me feel like a joke. And that's the battle I live with every day. The love and the resentment. The memories of her kindness and the sting of her cruelty. I don't know what decision I'll make. Maybe we'll come out of this stronger, or maybe we'll quietly drift apart. But for now, I'm giving myself permission to sit in the discomfort, to not rush toward an answer, and to feel everything I need to feel. I owe myself that much. TLDR. My wife publicly humiliated me during her postpartum depression, and while she's since apologized, gotten treatment, and improved, I've never fully healed. I forgave her, but the emotional damage lingered. I told her I'm considering divorce, and now we're both in therapy trying to work through our pain. I still love her, but I don't feel safe emotionally, and I'm learning that healing doesn't always follow forgiveness. Stories number 56. My best friend invited me on a girls' trip. Then brought strange men into our hotel room. When I imagined our first trip together after graduation, this is not how I thought it would go. So I, 18F, had been planning this little girls' trip with my friend, also 18F, for months. We had talked about it all throughout senior year, a relaxing getaway to celebrate graduating, just us two. No stress. No school. No drama. Just beaches, room service, maybe some sightseeing, and definitely a ton of TikToks. We saved up, picked a beautiful coastal city, and splurged a little on a cute hotel. When we got there, everything was perfect. The room had big windows that let in the sun every morning, the beds were plush, and there was even a rooftop pool. The first 2 days were genuinely amazing. We laughed so much. We took pictures. We explored little coffee shops and touristy spots. We even stayed up late watching trashy reality shows and eating overpriced snacks from the hotel bar. But then things started to change, fast. On the third night, my friend said she wanted to go out. She wanted to see the nightlife, maybe grab a drink or meet people. I was hesitant. I mean, we were both 18. I wasn't looking to party. But I also didn't want her to go alone, so I agreed to go with her. I figured we'd walk around, take pictures, maybe dance a little, then call it a night. Somewhere outside a club, she started talking to a group of guys. I don't know if she met them there or if they approached her, it all happened fast. They were definitely older. Like, not just a couple years older, but older. Maybe mid to late 20s. The kind of older where I felt like I needed to be more on guard. I stood nearby and tried to make myself small. I wasn't feeling it. One guy kept glancing at me like I was in the way. Another tried to ask if I wanted a drink and I declined as politely as I could. Eventually, my friend started leading them back toward our hotel. I pulled her aside and said, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" And she just waved it off like I was being overdramatic. She said, "They're cool. Just chill." I told her I didn't want guys in our hotel room. That made her roll her eyes, but she said, "Okay," and I figured that was that. It wasn't. The next day, after I took a long shower, I walked out into the room to find the same group of guys just hanging out on our beds, using our snacks. One of them had the nerve to say, "Hey, Sleeping Beauty's up," when I walked in wearing just a towel. I nearly screamed. I confronted my friend again. She brushed me off. "They're not doing anything. Just chilling." It kept happening. I'd wake up from a nap and hear deep voices. I'd leave the room and come back and find one of the guys lying across my bed. My stuff wasn't missing, but I still felt unsafe. Uncomfortable. Exposed. I finally snapped and called my mom. I told her everything. She was livid. She got in the car immediately and drove 2 hours to come pick me up. When I told my friend I was leaving, she said, "Fine. Go. You're ruining the vibe anyway." No apology. No concern. Just annoyance that I was killing the mood. I left, but I didn't just leave. I told my mom everything, and she ended up calling my friend's mom. I didn't intend to snitch like that, but I was genuinely worried. I didn't trust those guys, and my friend was brushing it off like nothing mattered. Apparently, once my friend's mom got involved, she was told to come home too. And she did. But she wasn't happy about it. That night, she called me and said I was a fake friend. That I'd ruined her first real trip. That I didn't get what fun even is. I told her I was worried for our safety. That I didn't know those guys and they shouldn't have been in our private space. I told her I didn't feel safe and didn't want to be part of something that could have gone horribly wrong. She just hung up on me. It's been days now. She hasn't said a word since. I haven't tried to reach out either, but the silence between us is louder than anything. She was someone I considered my best friend. The one who I trusted enough to travel with. Now I'm wondering if I ever really knew her. I'm not trying to act like I'm better than her or more mature or anything. We're both young. We're both still figuring stuff out. But I know what it feels like to have my boundaries ignored. To be made to feel like a killjoy just for looking out for us. Even if she doesn't realize it, I know I made the right call. TLDR, my best friend and I went on a post-grad girls trip. She started bringing older random men she met outside a bar back to our hotel room. I didn't feel safe, and after talking to her and being dismissed, I called my mom and left. Her mom found out too, and she had to go home early. She's now calling me a fake friend for ruining the trip, but I genuinely believe I did the right thing by protecting both of us. I miss her, but I don't miss the feeling of being unsafe. Update. It's been a couple of weeks now, and I've had more time to reflect on everything that went down. At first, I was mostly just hurt that someone I considered a close friend could so easily dismiss me like that, and hurt that she couldn't even acknowledge how unsafe or uncomfortable the situation was. But as the days passed and I talked more with people I trust, especially my boyfriend and my mom, I realized that I wasn't just sad about losing a friend. I was grieving the idea of a friendship that probably wasn't as solid as I thought it was. After our fallout, I noticed that she started posting all kinds of stuff on social media, cryptic quotes about jealous friends and people who ruin your vibe, tagging random people she just met on that trip, and suddenly acting like they were her new ride or dies. I didn't respond. I haven't even looked at her page in over a week now because I realized it was only making me feel worse. I'm not jealous, I'm just disappointed. Another thing that really hit me was how my other friend, let's call her Kayla, reached out to say she wasn't surprised by how things went down. Apparently, this isn't the first time our mutual friend has put someone in a bad or risky position just to have a good time. Kayla had a similar situation a while back where she invited a guy to a sleepover without telling anyone, and things got super awkward. I guess I was just blind to it before because I wanted to believe our friendship was special. Looking back, I don't regret leaving that hotel early. I think I made the right call for myself, and honestly, for both of us. Because I kept thinking, what if something bad had happened? What if one of those older guys had crossed a boundary? I would never have forgiven myself for just sitting back and doing nothing. Losing this friendship has been hard, but it's also been freeing. I've been spending more time focusing on people who truly care about me, people who wouldn't put me in uncomfortable or unsafe situations and then gaslight me for reacting to it. I've started journaling more and even thinking about therapy, just to help process some of the deeper stuff that this situation brought up, like people-pleasing, ignoring my own discomfort to avoid conflict, and staying in situations that don't serve me just to not feel like the bad guy. There's still a part of me that hopes one day she'll reach out, not necessarily to rekindle things, but just to say, hey, I get it now. But I'm not waiting on it. I'm moving forward. Sometimes we outgrow people, and it doesn't mean they're terrible or evil, it just means they're not where you are anymore. I'll always remember the good memories we had, and I still hope she stays safe. But I've learned that I have to protect my peace, even if it means walking away from someone I thought would be in my life forever. TLDR. After a girls' trip turned sketchy when my friend kept bringing random older guys into our hotel room, I chose to leave early and she got mad. She later cut me off completely, and we're no longer friends. I've come to accept it and realized I made the right decision for my safety and well-being. I'm grieving the friendship but also feeling stronger for standing up for myself. Update. About a month after everything went down, I got a message from her. It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was something. She said she'd been thinking a lot about what happened and admitted that maybe she didn't handle things the best way. She said she felt judged by me and that's why she lashed out, but she now understood that I wasn't trying to control her, I was just uncomfortable and trying to protect both of us. She didn't exactly say she was sorry, but she said she wished we could have talked it through instead of it blowing up the way it did. I sat with that message for a day before responding. I told her I appreciated her reaching out, and that I understood where she was coming from too, but I also needed to be honest. Her actions that night, and especially how she reacted afterward, really broke my trust. I said I wasn't angry anymore, just sad, because I truly valued our friendship. But I also said I didn't feel like I could go back to how things were, not unless we both did a lot of growing and rebuilding. And I didn't think either of us was ready for that. She didn't reply after that, and honestly, I was okay with that. I felt at peace. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel a knot in my stomach about it anymore. I realized closure doesn't always come in the form of a neat apology or a tearful reconciliation. Sometimes closure is just knowing you did the right thing for yourself, even when it hurt. Since then, I've poured more energy into people who make me feel safe, seen, and respected. I've reconnected with a cousin I hadn't talked to in years, I've gone on walks with my boyfriend without obsessing over texts or drama, and I've started feeling lighter. Like I'm finally breathing again. Friendship breakups are a different kind of heartbreak. They come without warning, without the cultural playbook we have for romantic breakups. But they still cut deep. And healing from them still matters. I'll always wish her well. I just no longer wish for her in my life. TLDR. My friend reached out weeks later, not quite apologizing but trying to explain. I responded honestly, expressing my hurt and why I couldn't rebuild our friendship. She never replied again. I've made peace with it, found closure in protecting my boundaries, and moved forward with people who respect me. This friendship ending hurt, but I've grown stronger because of it.